are. All right. Now, look, my apologies. Yeah, it's well, actually, I don't know if that was my fault or not. Hold on. Why is the camera so? There we go. We got to get a little bit of the backlight in. All right. Sorry. It was doing that thing. You know how in the middle of the show, it'll just, the mics will go off. I'll be talking. I won't even know it. And suddenly the mics will mute. Well, it did that. It did that except before I went live, and I didn't realize that it had done that. And I tried to go live. So I just rebooted everything, and that's why we're a little bit late today. Hi, everybody. Welcome. I am Pugs Moran. This is the Daily Rant for working class, normal people who just want to talk about the world. They don't want to have to process every thought they have through what political partisan lens they choose to use. No, we're just normal people reacting with common sense to uncommon issues. Every day, right about noon. Live from the Kelly Moore Memorial Studios on the beautiful south side of Chicago. I just posted something earlier on Twitter. It's one of the cool things about the studio that we do here is right when you walk out the front door, man, there are two things right out the front door. High school baseball practice going on, which is kind of cool. It's kind of all American. Kind of makes you feel a little Norman Rockwell, right? You're hearing all that pepper and all the hey, better, and the crack of the bat as I'm walking to the car. It's nice. It's nice. The other thing is, as I just posted on Twitter, and you can follow me over there, Pugs Moran. Follow me at Pugs Moran everywhere. Facebook, whatever it is, just Pugs Moran, TikTok. I'm on all of them. Can't promise I'm very active on all of them, but I am on all of them. Also, Radio Misfits, radiomisfits.com. By the way, gang, Radio Misfits Live 105.3. What happened to Live 105.3? Episode 3 drops tomorrow. Radio Misfits. We tell the story of a radio station that went away for no good reason that anybody can think of. Who killed Live 105.3 exclusively from Radio Misfits? Episode 3 drops tomorrow, Thursday. Every Thursday, new episodes. So please be checking those out. All right, so you follow Radio Misfits everywhere, YouTube, all that stuff. As a matter of fact, you should be watching the show on Radio Misfits, not over on mine. I don't even think I have. Do I have one? I don't even know. See, so confusing. I am not built for this age. I am built for the talk show host days of limousines and, 5 producers and, this one-man band shit. When did I sign up for the... Oh, I didn't sign up for it. It just kind of happened. So I had an epiphany, guys. I wanted to share this with you right off the top of the show. Yeah. And I don't know if it's an epiphany, because an epiphany is a realization that one has that hits you like a bolt of lightning. It gives you a new way of looking at something that is completely different from the way that you've looked at it before. That's what an epiphany is. It's almost a religious moment where your eyes are open. So I don't know if this was necessarily an epiphany, because I kind of always knew. I just resisted it. So ever since I have decided to wear the blue badge of shame, that's right, the blue check on Twitter. I've been telling you about it. I'm a blue check now. I'm not happy about it, but it's the blue check of shame. If you have it, it is the blue check of shame. It is the blue check of complicity, whatever you want to call it. But I've noticed some pretty drastic differences in my Twitter account. Like, first of all, I'm way more popular with the bots now than ever before. Oh my God, the bots are like mosquitoes. I was really excited. I got a lot of new followers, like in the first 48 hours. I'm like, whoa, where did all these people come? And then I realized, oh, none of these people are real. I'm like, oh, okay, well, whatever. It helps the algorithm. And now here's where my epiphany comes in. This is the thing that I finally realized. And it goes against everything that I was taught to be. I was raised I'm a Gen Xer, and I was raised in the 80s and 90s. Maybe even some of the 70s, really, yeah. So, a lot of the 70s. Anyway, point is this. Trying to make myself younger? For what reason? For what reason are you trying to make yourself younger? I don't know. Anyway, we were raised at a time where and in a culture. And again, maybe this just was working class, big northern city, ethnically aware, very Irish, very Catholic, very working class. We didn't brag, okay? That's like a thing. You didn't brag. Oh my God, the biggest asshole on the planet is the guy that won't shut up about himself. That went without saying, the way we were raised. You were humble. Humility was what was expected, not applauded, expected. You did something great and people were like, oh my God, that was so incredible. Your response was expected to be, thank you. Wow, that means a lot to me. But it took a lot of it. It wasn't just me. It was I just got lucky. That's the way we were raised. You don't brag on yourself. What? So when someone like me finally, and I say this like 2005 or whatever, it finally becomes involved in this new wave of social media and attempts to get traction and all that kind of thing. We used to, like, the early rules of, let's say Facebook. The early rules were, you didn't like your own posts. You didn't retweet your own. Oh my God. Oh God, he's one of those people that likes his own posts. Oh my God, he's one of those people. You didn't do that. You were supposed to be humble and you were supposed to go viral because what you said was truly earth-shaking and people respond, right? That was like the rule for those of us raised in a certain way, where humility was super important to us. The algorithm does not respect humility. The algorithm does not respect humility. So when we see these behaviors from people who were younger than us, people who grew up in the algorithm era, like my kid, I love my kid. My kid is good, but my kid is very, he does it in a pro wrestling kind of style, but he is very confident. And himself, and it's like, tone it down, kid. And the epiphany, I guess, that I had, or maybe it wasn't an epiphany, was that, again, it's not these kids' fault. It goes back to this thing that I've been saying about this generation. They're the canary in the coal mine. We are learning all of the worst possible side effects of allowing an entire generation to disconnect from civilized society and sit in their rooms with pads. So my epiphany was, now that I'm a blue check and I saw all these followers, I was very excited. Oh my God, people love me. And I started looking into these people. I'm like, no way, this one's real. Not a chance, this one's real. Nope. This one ain't real either. And then I started looking, right? You start to learn these tips when you're a blue check. It's like they pulled a curtain back and said, here's how you do it. And you start to learn these things. And every one of the tricks to get traction on Twitter goes against all of the rules of humility and grace and, decency. We have created a world where the loudmouth asshole bragging on himself is the king. Literally. And that was my epiphany. My epiphany is the algorithm does not respect humility. So if you're going to play in the world of the, social media, if you're doing new media, as I am, trying to get traction, you got to be an arrogant, cocky, I'm the effing best, blah, 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 end zone dance. And I hate that aspect of it. But here it comes, bitches. All right. So that's my epiphany. The algorithm does not respect humility. And if we rely more and more on the algorithm, that is just one of those side effects that's going to really hurt civilized society. If people do not respect humility, if people are just going to walk around going, I'm the biggest, I'm the baddest, anyway, there you have it. All right, let's see here. Barney out here taking shots at my deep contemplations. Grandpa thinking merit has meaning. Well, you and I are on the same page there, Barney, because as I said, let's see here. Adam says you shared in your bragging with your neighborhood pride. Now, look at that. He got it. Joseph, South Side, included that in there. Sears Tower Forever, included that in there. Yeah, Adam. Got to play the fucking game. And I hate it. I hate what it says about me as a human being. In my attempt to become something other than I am as a social media person. Ugh. All right. Hey, let's do this. Let's reward every day. We like to reward the top 3 people who come into the chat room. 1, 2, 3. We do it like F1. We call it the podium. Let's find out who today's podium people are. They're the first 3 people that were in the chat room. Let's see. Oh my God. We got Taronda. Taronda is the first one in. Look at her. She ain't Tiger Woods having one good round of golf. No, she's not. She's here to say she's back. Comeback player of the year, maybe. Can an MVP be comeback player of the year? Well, yeah, sure. I guess he can. Yeah. All right. Congratulations to Taronda. She is in first place, number 1 in the podium. Now we've got Peter. Peter's here. Peter's on the podium. Peter's a mainstay on the podium. I don't know. Is Peter like is Taronda like Max Verstappen? Well, no, look, F1's changed. Although, you know what? As an F1 fan, I told you about my new rule, right? So I probably shouldn't even talk about F1 because my new rule with F1 is that the Netflix series Drive to Survive is way better than just watching the actual F1 season. This happened around like season 3. And because I decided I'm going to watch the whole season. And I really dove into the whole F1 season that year in anticipation of seeing the next season of Drive to Survive, which would cover that season that I had just so diligently watched and took copious notes, and I was ready for it. And it ruined the series for me. It absolutely ruined the series. So now I don't watch F1 season. I just watch Netflix Drive to Survive. That's the level of F1 fan that I am. Anyway, so I don't know who Taronda is, and I don't know who Peter would be. I'm going to say Max and like Charles Leclerc, little Ferrari Red Bull, but McLaren's the real boss, right? Aren't they the new boss now? Anyway, moving on. Third place is Barney. Barney, look at Barney. Barney's third on the podium. He's getting some champagne dunked on him. That's right. Congratulations to today's podium. Today's podium is Taronda, Peter, and Barney. Let's say hi to some other people in the chat room. What do we got? Well, we already mentioned that Adam's here. Instead, Adam's already contributed. Maddie's here. Thin chat room today, guys. I don't see anybody else. Holy cow. All right, well, we'll just move forward anyway. And the room is there. We got the room. Like, people are listening and just not showing up in the chat room. That's too bad. I think the chat room is the place to be when you're watching the show. All right, let's see. What are we going to talk about here? We're going to have Maddie on today. We're going to have Maddie on. And it's going to be kind of a special segment on Maddie where Maddie usually comes and dazzles us with her left hard look at the world. Now, I like Maddie because Maddie's funny and Maddie's smart, but Maddie is a liberal, so Maddie is allowed to. And we love it. But today I want to go over. Maddie presented me with something that I didn't think I wanted to know about. But whatever. I'm watching the White Sox game last night. Got the laptop open and I'm like, all right, I'll look at this. And I open it up. And what Maddie had sent me was the full, no edits. I'm telling you, I don't know what they would edit it out. I mean, just the full and complete manifesto by the 2 mosque shooters there in San Diego the other day. Kane Clark and his buddy, the Mexican white supremacist. So I read multiple times, well, not multiple times, but I did go back and read sections multiple times. I read both last night multiple times, and Maddie and I are going to go through it. We're going to, this is something that for me is really personal, and it's why I kept reading and I kept going back over things, because my son is coming here very soon. Not entirely sure what exact day, but school is out and he doesn't have football, and he's having that direction thing that teens go through, and we need to get his head screwed up, right? And he's nothing wrong with him, but he's not playing football this year. So what are you? What is he? It's anyway. And he's a 17-year-old boy. And he's a smart 17-year-old boy who loves history and reads a lot of stuff. And, he can talk to me about shit that I can't believe he's talking to me about. Deep discussions about the Carter administration. Shit like that. I'm like, what? He's also really good at breaking down an NFL depth chart. He's pretty good at that too. I'll give him that. And music. He's good at music. Anyway, he's a good kid, but he's a 17-year-old boy in an America that is not really great to 17-year-old white boys. And so I wanted to read. I wanted to read the manifesto. I wanted to see what the extreme looks like. What a boy my age who has access to all the crap that my son has access to. And forget about that now. Well, you gotta limit what he has access. He's a 17-year-old super smart kid. He if he wanted to, he could limit what I have access to long before I could limit what he can get access to. So, but again, trust and parenting and love and open conversation and all that bullshit that never existed before 1995. It seems to work with him. I mean, he's never been expelled. The police have never called, and no girl has ever gotten pregnant. So, it's fine. He gets good grades. So as far as, he seems okay. But man, this manifesto, folks, it shook me. It just, how incredibly messed up a kid who has absolutely everything in this world, how messed up and how easily gotten to he was. All right, so we're going to go into that. That's going to be a pretty heavy segment, so look forward to that. Me and Maddie are going to break down the manifestos. That's right, plural, too. Each one of these kids wrote one. Notice I'm not saying monsters. Their act was monstrous. Their mind was monstrous. But at 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, hell, I'm a believer that anything under 23 is still an idiot and a potential dangerous idiot. Told you yesterday, some of the scariest people in the world right now are late teen boys who feel like there is nothing for them. This is the coder class. Right? I tell you about this all the time. The mom who 10 years ago was like, I've got my son coding. He's only 7 and he's coding. He's going to be offered $1 million job by the time he's 15. And then AI came in. It was like, oh yeah, no, humans will never code again. That's an AI thing now. But my kid's got 12 years. He never played sports or anything because I thought this would be. So that's the coder class generation of kids that are like, fuck. So there are going to be no jobs for us. And they're drifting. I don't even know that my son is drifting. I think my son is just like in a moment where all teenagers find themselves, where they're like, okay, I'm not a little kid anymore. All right. I could probably buy beer if I had a good enough ID, right? And they got to start thinking in a different way. And I think that's what's potentially going on with my kid. So reading the manifestos really kind of shook me. And we're going to do that segment with Maddie. But first, we're going to talk about all the other things that are happening in the world today, as we do each and every afternoon, round about noon. Hold on. Let me check. Yeah. Bum. Well, thank you, Peter. Peter says he'll be fine. He's 17. It's a weird age, bro. Yeah, no, I know. Look, I know. And to some degree, I think that, again, this is here we go. I don't want to say this because humility, but I think the very fact that I am hyper tuned into these things and concerned about these things is an advantage that we have. And so is his mother. And so is his stepdad, for that matter. They're all incredible. So he's got a really good tuned in adults who think we know what he's up to. And I bring that up because, again, in the manifesto, these kids had ideas and obvious hobbies that they were incredibly passionate about. And I just don't know how a parent wouldn't notice that. That's what kept hitting me with the manifesto. So we'll get into that. Okay, I'm sorry. Adam, we'll get rid of this. Kevin says that my son is 17 too. Very rough times, as growing up is a bit scary. Kevin, I think our sons should meet. I don't know. I'm just saying. Wouldn't that be fun? We'll go to a baseball game or something. Just saying. Kevin, 17-year-old son. I am attempting to do something with every one of my friends who has a child somewhere in my son's age range. My buddy Robbie, he's a big wig here in Chicago media. He just moved here from Dallas. Robbie Bowen. You guys probably remember Robbie Bowen. Yeah. So Robbie called me, or I was talking to Robbie yesterday, and he said, so Mesa's coming. I go, yeah. I go, he's gonna be here real soon. School's out, and he's gonna come. And I asked him how his daughter was. He's got a daughter that's, they just moved here from another place, so she's fitting into a new culture, a new school, and all that kind of stuff. So I asked how she was, and because I knew she was the same age, and I go, me and Robbie love Second City, and my kid loves Second City. I go, we should go to Second City. I go, bring Olive, I'll bring Mace, and he was like, yeah, I don't think so. I'm like, what? What's wrong with my kid? And it wasn't that there was, I sensed that there was, just whatever, that maybe she wouldn't be into going to that or something. But anyway, I thought it was weird. I'm frantically attempting to reach out to all of my friends who have kids somewhere in my son's age, so that, my kid can be, around other people, get him socialized with, Anyway, let's see here. Al's got a 10-year-old. I guess I have something to look forward to. Oh, Al, let me tell you. Here's when it starts. I'm going to tell you when it starts, Al. At one point, he's going to be your perfect little 10-year-old buddy. And I mean perfect in a very loose sense, because 10-year-old sons can throw tantrums at bedtime still. And it's going to go away. That kind of nonsense is going to go away. But here's, I think, the moment where you go, oh, shit, it's over. The minute you are giving your kid, your son, nuggies or kissies or whatever, or tickling him, and, maybe he's got his shirt off, and the minute you go and smell body odor, it's over, dude. It's over. Even before the hairs come in, they start to get body odor, and you're like, oh, crap, he's a teenager. He's going to start being an ass. And sure enough, it is. It is within weeks of smelling the first whiff of your son's body odor. That's the warning. That's the warning, man. You know how gas leaks smell like rotten eggs to warn you that some shit's coming? Yeah. As soon as your son starts to have body odor, it's all downhill from there. That's not true. That's actually not true. I shouldn't be that. I'm trying to be funny, obviously. There are new things, Al, that you have to look forward. There are new cool things, fun things. Like, they start to get smarter. Like, you learn. You know what you do when your kid turns about 13 or 14 as a dad? You learn real quick whether or not you could be friends with your kid if you were both the same age. You know what I mean? Like, there's some dads out there that have nothing in common with their sons. And they're like, I wouldn't, my friend once said to me, this is what I started thinking about. My friend once said to me, and this was long before I even had a kid, but his kid was in high school, and he goes, I wouldn't hang out with my kid in high school. And I'm like, isn't that an interesting question? Do you think you would have hung out with your kid in high school? And that's why I say that usually reveals itself around 13 or 14. And I decided I would. My kid's funny. Like, it's funny and nice, and why wouldn't I? Anyway, I guess that's a bonus. I don't know if his mom would. I don't know if his mom. His mom, because, I had to woo his mom. His mom was a tough get. But she loves him unconditionally. But I just don't know. Anyway, moving on. Al says at 10 years old, my kid already thinks he's smarter than me. Yeah. But they're not. See, at 10, they're not. But once you get into like 15, 16, like with my kid, I'm like, I think my kid might be smarter than me. He knows shit. Like and okay, so we did we did a history quiz like a year ago or something, and he cooked me. He just absolutely cooked me in this history quiz. And again, because he's not the humility generation, he end zone dances everything. You're so stupid, boomer. You're a stupid boomer. He knows I'm not a boomer, but he calls me that because he knows it irritates Gen X. Nothing makes Gen X madder than being called boomer. So, he's not, he killed me. He killed me in the history quiz. And, I pointed out to him, I go, dude, this is so not cool. I go, you are literally studying this stuff this week. This is a quiz from your classroom. I haven't been in school. Sorry, I don't remember who signed the Declaration of Independence first, but you just learned it Tuesday, and I learned it 40 years ago. But yeah, at some point, you will start to think, oh my God, they are smarter than me. Jen says, I also have a 20-year-old daughter, and she's just always been perfect. Yeah, all right. I know. See? And I bet to the neighbors you could sell that, right? That's what we parents really want. Let's not pretend that our angels and our little G.I. Joe all-American boy. Let's stop pretending like we need them to be perfect. That ship has sailed when they were like 7. We're like, oh God, that is never going to go away. He is going to be like that when this situation arrives for his entire. So we know the best that a parent can hope for is that the outside world thinks they're good, right? If the outside world is like, oh, you should be so proud. He's such a. That's all we want. We don't care if their room's a mess. They lie to us. They steal a 20 out of our wallet. We don't get right. Just don't take it on the street. That's all we care about. So when Jen says I have a 20-year-old, I'm sure she is perfect, but parents know better. Let's see. Oh, Elle's got a 20-year-old daughter too. Didn't know that. My 20-year-old daughter is smarter than I am. I bet. I bet. All right, let's move on. Let's talk about some things because I don't want to be here all day, and I think that the segment with Maddie we're going to really dig into. So let's do this first. Okay, Massey lost. Okay, so Epstein won the Kentucky primary. I didn't cover this thing in the run-up very much, so I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on the election results. But Thomas Massey, just to nutshell what happened here, 30,000-foot view of what happened here. I'm not going to get into all of the stupid partisan name calling, but basically what happened here is a Republican, a very conservative Republican, certainly to my moderate point of view, a very conservative Republican who should seemingly represent strongly all of the values that are purported to be important to the America First movement. He was run out of town by the MAGA movement. He was in what is the most expensive congressional primary of all time. There was huge, massive outside money that came in to bolster his opponent. And Thomas Massey is no longer a congressman. And what was his grand scheme or his grand sin? Thomas Massey is the guy who the Epstein files, he's like a dog with a bone. Massey will not compromise no matter what the rest of the Republicans or conservatives who back Trump are willing to do. Massey will not compromise. He wants to know who the people were. They're all being fucking redacted from the Epstein files. Excuse my language. I'm trying not to swear that much anymore. But that was Massey's great sin. So, again, I'm taking the 30,000 view look as somebody who doesn't listen to all of that stuff, who's not in the echo chamber of that particular political way of life. The 30,000-foot view, the rest of America saw the one guy who was like, first of all, I'm not going to bend on the Epstein thing. We need to know these names. And then, of course, there was the Iran thing. And these are the two issues that got these people elected in the first place. And now we're all doing Homer in the bushes. You know the meme with Homer where he disappears. And that's what we're doing with or at least that's what the administration seems to want us to do with the Epstein files. The Iran war is a whole other thing. Anyway, the guy that beat him is like, he's a no-name who suddenly had this war chest to silence the guy who wants answers for Epstein. And he won. And he won pretty handily. And, there's some allegations that he was funded by Israeli interests and all that kind of stuff. But I think we all know that it's illegal for these men to take foreign money. They can't take money. Because, that's one of the things that's going on is that he's being accused of taking money from Israel. He ain't taking money from Israel. He's taking money from pro-Israel PACs. That's how you do it. Pro-Israel PACs set up in America by Israelis to support Israeli policies. I mean, yeah. But no, see, loopholes. This is our world, is our duplicitous bullshit world is run on loopholes. So yeah, certainly a foreign government can't legally bolster with money a campaign of somebody running in the United States. That's illegal. That's obviously wrong. But dark money doesn't play those games. And Massey got his ass kicked. The takeaway from this for me is, and this is the case with a whole lot of people in this country right now, because we are local elections no longer matter. It's all about a national profile. And Massey's now a real legitimate national candidate for higher office. So that's why he didn't seem all that upset. He knows what this means for him. He is going to run for president, and he is going to have a lot of support among the Epstein and the anti-Iran thing. I don't know that he can win, but I do know that he can take enough of the MAGA vote away from whether it's J.D. Vance or anybody else to let the guy on the other side win. President Gavin Newsom incoming. God save us all. But yeah, Massey's a national candidate now. That's also the situation that we're seeing with James Tallarico. He has been a national candidate since he defeated Jasmine Crockett in his primary. But, we're going to see incredible amounts of money pumped into the campaign of Ken Paxton to defeat James Tallarico. And the Democrats, at least on the national level, they're looking at that like it wouldn't be the worst thing, because they recognize that Tallarico is now a star that appeals to people from California to Maine. And that's an electable national guy, even if he's not electable in his own backyard. This is what politics have become. We have stopped paying any attention at all to local representation, local issues, and local problems. Everybody's grandma who lives in Wichita Falls hates Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, a congresswoman from the fucking Bronx. Dial in, people. Dial in. You've taken your eye off the ball for 25 years. Pay attention to your local mayors, your local congressmen, and your local representation at every freaking level. Because what we've got now are a bunch of people who aren't thinking locally, but they're thinking about how they can get on Fox News for some really controversial thing that their school board is doing. We did that. And you know me, I believe that it has everything to do with the destruction of talk radio at the local level. I believe it has everything to do with that. I believe that the national influences and the ease and the money that could be saved through satellite, through putting Rush Limbaugh in 400 cities and firing those local talk show hosts who were driving the conversation. No, we replaced it with a national view of things, and we all fucking are paying the price for it now. Said I wasn't going to lie. Anyway. I don't care. I don't care about this congressional race in Kentucky for the very same reasons that your grandma shouldn't care about what Ocasio-Cortez is up to in the Bronx. I don't care about it. What I care about, or what I've noticed, is what it says. Again, taking a 30,000-foot view of that. The guy who will not give up on Epstein was run out of business. MAGA has spoken. They're fine. They're good. They're good. They're good with whatever. Doesn't matter. Because Jesus appointed him. It's fucking crazy. All right, so that's my takeaway from it. Speaking of Epstein, if you do think that there's going to be any kind of progress made now, there won't. None. Zero. It's over, man. It's done. He doesn't even need to tell us about the now because the distraction game, that really, now that Massey's not anywhere near a position of importance, although will Massey be more of a problem from the sidelines? I don't know. He is certainly running for president. That I promise you. And in order to do that, he is going to have to be a heckler from the sidelines. So we'll see. We'll see. Maybe it's not over. But certainly, as far as having anybody inside this administration that is going to move any boulders to uncover any new truths about the Epstein files, that ain't going to happen. Todd Blanche, our Captain Complicit, the guy who, hold on, I want to make sure I do this right. Yeah, I want it smaller. There we go. Todd Blanche, he went in front of Congress, had to explain what's going on with the Epstein files. Todd Blanche is the guy who was Pam Biondi's number 2. Todd Blanche really impressed the president when he went to visit Ghislaine Maxwell at the maximum security lockup, the place we typically send and sentence global sex traffickers to. Todd Blanche went and met with her at a time when she was threatening to talk to Congress, and Todd Blanche left, and she wrote a nice letter about how Trump did absolutely nothing. And, she wouldn't be testifying in front of Congress, and certainly not anything having to do with Trump. And then days later, she was moved from the maximum security global sex trafficker prison to a club-fed women's only minimum security facility. Todd Blanche. That's who that is. He's the acting attorney general now. That was his reward for doing that. And when he did that, there were just endless amounts of people who have worked with him through the years in the Department of Justice and who know this man, who were like, this is what selling your soul looks like. There is going to be a reward for him at the end of this. This is and look at him. He's attorney general now. Look at him. Look at him. Todd Blanche went in front of Congress, and he was directly asked by Senator Merkley about the whole Epstein files and what the hell, man, where are we? What's going on? And this is how the guy in charge of it all now responded.
I want to go on to the Epstein investigation. Is it closed or open?
When you say the Epstein investigation, what are you referring to, Senator?
Well, the FBI said in last year in July that it had closed the Epstein investigation. So I'm just using their words. Is it open or closed?
I don't believe the FBI said that. If you're referring,
you're head of the Department of Justice. Is the Epstein investigation open or closed?
But I guess I don't understand what Epstein investigation means.
All right, I want to go on to the Epstein. I guess I don't know what Epstein investigation means. So that's a no. You don't even, this whole line of questioning. I don't know anything about that. The FBI said it was closed. I don't know anything about that. Okay, well, you're the FBI's boss. Is it closed? I guess I don't know what you mean by Epstein investigation. The thing that was happening a couple of months ago when you moved Ghislaine Maxwell from the maximum security global sex trafficking appropriate prison to the club fed. That whole thing, that investigation, we want to know. So yeah, so Massey's gone, and the guy running our Department of Justice is like, what? Who? Epstein from Welcome Back, Kotter, Mr. Kotter. Guy's out there clowning us. You voted for it. I didn't vote at all. I'm one of the people who was like, I ain't even get involved in this mess. I don't want this on my historical soul. You voted for this one, or you voted for no. But I'll tell you what, I won't do that again. I will participate in every election now. All right, so there you have it. Todd Blanche, he ain't gonna help. Charlemagne, I want to play a little clip from Charlemagne here. Charlemagne the God. You guys know who he is? I think he's the best. He's the best non-political talker in America. All right, he's and as is witnessed here with this show, I consider myself a non-political talker. But sometimes, because of the world we live in, maybe, you might think we're being political, but really we're just talking about politics and their place in modern culture. And I don't think there's anybody better than that doing it right now than Charlemagne the God. Charlemagne the God is a nationally syndicated. Look, I say talk radio is dead. Talk radio in America, at least in so much as the kind of shit that I'm allowed to do, is dead. Unless you're willing to carry water for a pack. That's all. The political action community fuels talk radio in America. And it's only one kind. It's only one kind. Just if you're like, well, Pugs, that's the same. Yeah, it is. It's the same in sports radio now. The gambling industry, gambling special interests now completely control sports radio in America, at least in these cities here that have freedom to allow you to gamble on your phone. Not like the free state of Texas, where that's one of the things they're like, nah, you can't, you don't want that. Hey, it's coming though. It's coming, just late. Because once again, the people making decisions were wrong. And now they're going to be like, okay, it's fine. Texas missed out on the boom, but okay. All right. So, what was I saying? Anyway, yeah. So Charlemagne the God, I think he's great. I think talk radio is fueled by special interest money. That's why we hear the same damn national voices repeating one another over and over again every day for the last 30 years of American talk radio. Sports, gambling. Okay. Those are the influences. Sorry. Talk radio is alive in the Black community. In the local Black community in America, talk radio is thriving. Charlemagne the God is essentially Howard Stern to Black people, but he should be. He should be to all people, but we still live in a world that looks at it that way, and he's on a bunch of radio stations around the country that play music white people don't listen to, I guess. So we can't listen to him. Charlemagne's great. Charlemagne is smart. His conversational style is almost hypnotic. And, you know, he is definitely a fantastic representation of the American middle right now. He is in the middle. That Pugs, he's Black, he's liberal. Shut the fuck up. No, he's not. No, he is not. He's very critical of all sides, but it just so happens that right now, one side, the left, seems to have a better case than the right. So anyway, I wanted to listen to this. This is a chunk of Charlemagne the God talking about something that I haven't mentioned yet, but I think it's going to be a story moving forward. So whatever. But it's, you know, this slush fund. Trump has created a slush fund to reward his whatever. I don't know. Let's let Charlemagne explain it, because I think he does it in a manner that is unique, in a way that I think needs to be amplified. All right, here it is. This is from his show, iHeartRadio's The Breakfast Club. Charlemagne the God on the Trump slush fund. Here we go. Sorry, took me a little bit longer than I thought.
Based off one word, groceries. But he never cared if you actually could afford any. Okay, actions will always speak louder than words. Actions will always tell you what politicians value more than rhetoric does. And everyone's sitting around waiting for this golden age to happen. It's not. Okay, not for you anyway. For him and his family, his allies, oh, they getting fat while you starve. Okay, and that's why our taxpayer dollars going to this weaponization fund to compensate his allies should piss you off. Okay, you should be outraged. You should actually be in the street protesting against this. Okay, not only is it corrupt, it is a blatant slap in the face to the economic hardships you folks are facing. Okay, Trump told you he don't care what you're going through financially. All right, he's not even acting like he sees what you're going through. All right, he's not even detached from people's economic struggles. He just doesn't care. Right? He's pushing for financial windfalls for his allies, his family, not you. And we wonder why people get radicalized in this country. This is how Batman becomes Batman. Okay, this is how Daredevil becomes Daredevil. This is the vigilante origin story, people.
He doesn't care is the point. And it has always been obvious to some of us, but the idea that it isn't fucking punching the rest of you in the face right now is what has us all going, you're all crazy and in a cult. You're all crazy and in a cult. If at this point, you're not looking at the endless examples, the endless piles of evidence ever growing higher of ways that his family is enriching itself, and because he has nothing but a 100% complicit rate among the people in his party, he's being allowed to do it. That's why the story yesterday, the story about, the Department of Justice, they're apologizing to the Trump family on behalf of the IRS. And, the IRS has now said that the Trump family and the Trump sons and the Trump daughters, and they can't ever be audited by the IRS again, okay? Because that's how wrong we were. And people are like, haha, that's a win. You get out of here with that nonsense. You think that's going to hold up? You think, really? Like, you don't think the next administration is going to bring endless amounts of charges against everybody, and almost everything that they've done is going to be wiped away from history? You don't know that is obviously going to happen next? Well, you didn't know that all of this was going to happen next, and we did, so wise up, Trump. His family's never going to have to pay, or his family's going to be able to exploit loopholes for the rest of it. No, they're not. Just stop it. Just have a little faith in the pendulum. We are a pendulum nation, man. Right now, we're all the way over here with the pendulum, but I promise you, when it swings back this way, and that's what I hate about this country, and that's what anybody who lives in the middle hates about this country. Why can't the pendulum just be right here? Why can't this be the pendulum? Why's it got to go? Because every time it does that, it fucks up an entire generation's head. And here we are. All right. Charlemagne the God. Bezos is making a whole bunch of news today. Bezos is sat down and gave an interview to CNBC, or I don't know, some show I don't watch. But anyway, his video is getting traction. He's a piece of shit. And honestly, he's being heralded in some circles as a champion. Bezos, he's one of us. He's the blue collar billion. Honestly, I mean, if we are going to talk about blue collar billionaires and all that kind of stuff, I might be more apt to apply that to Jeff Bezos than any of the other ones that we sometimes get that title, right? Donald Trump, he's the blue collar billionaire. He was born into one of the wealthiest, most powerful families in Manhattan. That is the exact opposite. Anyway. Elon Musk's dad owned diamond mines. Now, well, it wasn't one of the big ones. Okay. I'm sure you guys still went on airplane vacations with your dad owning the diamond mine. It's not blue collar. Your dad owned a diamond mine. You're not working class. Okay, so stop it. Bezos was working class. Bezos started Amazon in his garage. Bezos had an idea. Bezos represents the American dream certainly more than it does for Donald Trump or Elon Musk. Donald Trump's not the American dream. Donald Trump's been here for generations. His family was already wealthy when he was born. He is not the American dream. Jeff Bezos very well might be. But I do think that something has happened with Jeff Bezos, and I don't give him too much credit for those roots. But when it does come to him talking about the working class, maybe we listen a little more to guys like him, to guys like Mark Cuban, to guys who actually were raised inside a blue-collar environment. Anyway, I still think he's a monster, but here he is sitting down with CNBC from today. There are a whole bunch of different clips from this interview. This is the one that I've chosen to go with. So let's listen, okay? Jeff Bezos today on CNBC, the world's, I don't know, let's say third richest man.
Taxes. People talk about making the tax system more progressive. How about we start by having the nurse in Queens not pay taxes? Why is somebody at all? Why is a nurse in Queens who makes $75,000 a year paying more than $1,000 a month in taxes?
All right. First of all, I think a nurse in Queens makes a little more than 75. Maybe, I don't know. I might be wrong. I've spent a lot of time around nurses, and I'm like, this is a highly skilled, in-demand profession. These women better be compensated. But okay, let's say he's right about 75. All right, so what he's basically saying is that, a working class person who makes $75,000 a year should not be paying $1,000 of that to the government every month. And he is absolutely right. Absolutely right. And yet, you can fuck with the middle class and the working class, and you always could. Because the working class will do what they're told. You know why? Because the working class is very close to the lower class. The working class is struggling to stay out of the lower class, and they do what they're told, because not doing what you're told when you're in that precarious of a position, the middle working class, you get bumped down a notch, and before you know it, you'll be living in some slum. So that's why the working class is so easily complicit in all of this stuff. They'll just pay. And it's, it's the wealthier classes that can afford the high-end accountants and the tax attorneys who specialize in loopholes and, all of that's for the next level. Not for us, not for the working class. We pay every fucking bit that we go, or they're going to jack us up. Oh, and they will jack up the plumber. They will jack up the nurse. They will. And it won't be a big deal. They'll jack them up over 12 grand over 5 years. They will jack you up. And here's how I mean jack up. There ain't going to be some major penalty or anything like that. They'll make you pay. They may even, tax your fucking paycheck or whatever. But here's how it's really going to jack you up. This is real world jacking up. You got to get a lawyer now. How much a month do you have budgeted as the working class for this fucking lawyer now that's going to have to handle this lawsuit that the IRS is bringing against you? That's the problem. The whole system is messed up as far as the way that it puts the middle working class in a vice grip and just starts cranking. So to hear him say this is good, because we hear Trump saying I don't think at all about him. What, money problems? What, do people still have money problems? I don't know. I look around and everybody seems to be doing well. Everywhere I go. I was in Mar-a-Lago over the weekend. You just seen this wedding they put on. What do you mean struggling? So at least Bezos, who is another son of a bitch billionaire, at least this guy knows enough to say the right thing.
Why is somebody at all? Why is a nurse in Queens who makes $75,000 a year paying more than $1,000 a month in taxes? That's $1,000 a month that could help with rent or groceries or anything. And so, and by the way, do you know what that all adds up to? The bottom half of income earners in this country pay only 3% of the taxes.
The money that they wring out of the working class, this has been known forever. I mean, this isn't new news, but he's breaking it, and he's Jeff Bezos, so it's going to be amplified. But the money that they wring out of us, the money that we could so desperately use for our children, for our homes, for our communities, that money that they wring out of us accounts for nothing. Counts for absolutely nothing in the budget. They would, as he says here, 3%, they will find 3% somewhere else. 3% is nothing. But again, you can fuck with us, the working class, because we're afraid to step out of line and end up one step lower.
By the way, do you know what that all adds up to? The bottom half of income earners in this country pay only 3% of the taxes. It's only 3%. We can find 3%. So we don't have, it's a small amount of money for the government, that. And really, the more I thought about it, to me, it's kind of absurd that we're doing this. We shouldn't be asking this nurse in Queens to send money to Washington. They should be sending her to people talk about.
All right, there you have it. That's Bezos. We pride ourselves on not having a caste system, but we definitely have a caste system in this country, and Jeff Bezos is certainly a part of the upper caste. Here's the way I look at this nonsense. So, do you know that there are congressmen? You should probably find out what your congressman or what your representative does. Congressmen, when they go to Washington to represent the people of their district, they have to pay their own rent. It's illegal for them to, take a free place or anything like that, because they're congressmen and they're upstanding individuals. So here's why I say you should check into where your congressman lives, because there are over 30 members of Congress on both sides, on the right and the left. There are over 30 members of Congress who regularly sleep in their office, and then they fly home to their districts. The Congress people who sleep in their office and go home to their district as soon as they can. Those are real Congress people. Those are the people doing the work. If you find out that your congressman who you elected and, well, he used to be the chief of police, he's a good working class guy, you find out that that guy moves to Washington, D.C., and now suddenly has a really cool apartment down there in Georgetown. Yes, this is my cool Brownstown. You got to ask yourself, my congressman, what is he doing? Where's he getting this money? And there are a lot of congressmen, people whose names you don't know because they're not moths to the TV flame, but there's a whole bunch of them out there who sleep in their office. That's admirable. That is admirable. That is, instead of even, I heard one say a couple of years ago, they were talking, I don't even, actually, I do know who it is, but I'm not going to talk about who it is. All right. You know what? I would be duplicitous if I did not say that this was Eric Swalwell. All right. So I guess you never can know for real. But Eric Swalwell, famously, I remember him saying that I sleep on a couch in my office and I don't care or whatever because I can't afford blah, blah, blah. Anyway, he can't afford it. He went through, like, this is what I make for a year. And, I'm not a rich person and all that. And I remember thinking, oh, that's pretty admirable. Still don't trust him. I never trusted Eric Swalwell. I think I was on record with that. I always thought he seemed like a little bit like the jock in a John Hughes movie who was the bad guy. That's who Eric Swalwell always kind of struck me as. But anyway, he was one of them dudes who I guess lived in his own apartment. Anyway, so the congressman. Here's another thing about the congressman. They expense shit all the time. They have a right to expense. They expense flights for fact-finding missions and all of that stuff. And it's almost always bullshit. Well, my wife is on the board of the local chapter there in the district I represent, and she's on the board of this beautification thing for our district, and I, as the congressman, we're going to beautify that district. So we went to the Bahamas for 2 weeks, my wife and I. We flew private, it's American business. You got to look into this shit. You got to look at this is the problem. This is where we can make up Jeff Bezos's 3% easily. We can make up the 3% gained by the United States government in taxing the working middle class. We can make that up by simply taking away congressional expense accounts. How easy would that be? Oh, I don't think they're going to vote for that. No, but that's how you do it. I mean, that's just right there. There was a thing going around that was getting a lot of people very excited on Twitter a couple of days ago. Did you see this about it was a young woman who was complaining about the economy. And honestly, when I see these things, I think, okay, this is a psyop. This isn't real. First of all, the person posting this who now has like 41,000 retweets and 500,000 likes and whatever. I go, first of all, this person isn't real. This is a psyop. This is not a 22-year-old girl who is upset because she can't make ends meet. Okay, it is a psyop. There is an agenda behind the post, and the comments tell the story. So anyway, this young girl purportedly posted that she was, this age and she pays this much in rent, and now she can't even eat lunch because why is lunch $28 a day? Right, and that's the trigger. That's the trigger on the bot post. $28 a day because we all have the reaction. $28 for lunch every day, right? That's the trigger. And then you go down into the comments and you see that, that's just a psyop designed to get people at each other's fucking throats or to allow people to vent about young people and the libs. And, that's all it is. But it was an interesting question because there were some people who weren't, being triggered, but they were talking about the prices of lunch. And I'm sorry. First of all, I don't eat lunch. All right. So it's not a problem for me. But if you're eating lunch every day and it's costing you $28 and you're complaining about your rent or about not being, you need to fucking go to Jamba Juice for lunch. Okay. When these congressmen and we have this expectation of frivolity and excess at our high level Washington, You know, every congressman, when they meet with somebody for their expense account, well, I took a bunch of people from my home district out to dinner. We're going to expense that. Why the fuck are you always going to the Palm? Why, you people can't go to Golden Corral like the rest of us? There are restaurants out there that don't cost $3,000 for 4 people to have dinner. Yet that's the idea. I'm sorry not to get triggered by that thing, but if there is a 22-year-old girl out there who thinks lunch costs $28, she's wrong. She is wrong. And there wasn't a picture of her or anything, but, you know, maybe she's a big fat girl. I don't know, but $28? Go to Jamba Juice. No, how about this, ladies? Take up smoking. You know, that's what women used to do. Women didn't used to have lunch. They just go smoke. Seemed to work out for all of us. Kevin. Kevin, he's had some face stuff done. Are you talking about Bezos? Because I almost didn't recognize him. He's had something. Something is different about Bezos. I'm like, that's a clone. It's a Bezos clone. That is not Bezos. So it's interesting. If you're talking about Bezos, Kevin saying, or KB saying, he's had some face stuff done. I think, yeah, I had that exact same thing. Adam talking about the great tax scam of Texas says we paid $14,000 in taxes this year, most we've ever paid, and made about $160,000 combined, so about 9.375. Now, Texas, and something that I learned after about 10 years of living in Texas, it takes you a while to realize. And you have to own a home, and I didn't own a home at first. But, you know, the big draw of Texas is no state taxes. That's right. We don't. No state tax. Well, they got county taxes, though. they got all kinds of. Texas got all kinds of other taxes. Holy crap. My property taxes in Texas. Are you insane? Oh. It completely wipes out the fact that you don't have state taxes. It's the exact same thing. The advantage in Texas used to be that you could buy much more house for far less money, and then you didn't have state taxes on top of it, and that was kind of a draw. But now, have you seen property values, especially in North Texas? Holy cow. Those houses are worth something now. I mean, those you can't buy a cheap house in North Texas anymore. No. Hold on to your house if you got it. All right, Kevin says, yeah. Kevin says, yep. It was Jeff Bezos he was commenting on when he said he looked strange. All right, let's do we want to do the, yeah, okay. So let's watch a video out of Seattle. This is a piece of video. This was adjudicated. It happened about a year ago. And it was adjudicated recently. And let's watch it. Okay, so let me give you some. Is this going to be I really hope that it's. Hold on. All right, yeah, here we go. All right, we'll watch this. This is the one we want. This happened in Seattle around some. Hold on. This happened in Seattle in one of the touristy areas where, you know, people come. I don't know what the touristy area of Seattle is. I'm sorry. I'm going to warn you again, just as I did yesterday, you are going to see somebody shot at point blank range. He's not going to die, though. He doesn't die. Hold on. My computer is working very, very slow. I don't like that at all. All right. So here's what we're going to be looking at here. Let me get rid of Kevin's. Let me get rid of the, okay. So you see, this happened in Seattle last summer of 2025. What we're looking at here is some public place, touristy place there in Seattle. We're seeing a man in a wheelchair. He is a homeless, injured Navy vet. Okay, that's what he is, and we know, because as I say, it's all been adjudicated. We have all the answers. We know. Okay, we know what's going on here. Because all right, so this man, this homeless man who apparently rose. Actually, I don't know that he's homeless. I don't know. That is just me projecting. I should probably look more into that. If he is homeless, he seems to have nice pressed khakis on and a shirt that certainly doesn't suggest he doesn't have a closet to hang it up in, because it's not all wrinkled. So I don't know. But anyway, at any point, he is a disabled Navy veteran who is just rolling around. Okay, he's got Navy flags on his little wheelchair and all that. He's rolling around. You see this guy? Do you see? Oh my God, look at this guy. This guy with his little like Notre Dame Fighting Irish hat. I'm gonna get you. This guy. Oh my God. All right, so this guy here, we need to focus on him. Hold on, you're not seeing him. This guy here, we need to focus on him. He's got in jail now. He is the guy that is going to shoot this man. Again, not seriously at all. like yeah, he went to the hospital, but this is a tough old bird. This guy was like totally fine. Non-life threatening, whatever. Still, he's a man in a wheelchair. And this guy is going to try to sell you on the fact that he's a threat. And you know what? Honestly, in some way, I think the facts will prove that maybe. We'll talk. Anyway, we're going to watch it unfold. But what you need to know is what's happening here. So what is happening here is that the Navy vet is rolling around on his wheelchair. He's got Navy flags. He's got an American flag. And this guy here, this guy's in town. He was just at a city council meeting. As a matter of fact, he is coming from a city council meeting where he spoke to the city council and talked about his company. He's got a company that makes gun turrets, you know, and he wants to put these gun turrets all over the city of Seattle. That's what his pitch was. Now, it wasn't an invited meeting to the city council. It wasn't like somebody picked up the phone and they took him seriously and said, come meet us. No, this was one of those public things where anybody can get up and start. And he got up and he's like, I got a company and we got machine gun turrets. And I think because of the crime in this town, we need. So he was trying to sell. That's what he was doing. That's what he was in town for. So as he's walking back from that meeting, he sees this guy. He sees black guy, crippled, wheelchair, rolling around, America Pride, Navy, all that stuff. So this dude comes from the meeting and decides he's going to confront this guy and basically accuse him of stolen valor. So he's like, you weren't in the Navy, and he demanded ID. He's like, you show me your Navy ID. Stolen valor is not something that I tolerate. He was quoted as screaming. And by the way, all of these people are witnesses to the way this crazy dude was acting. So, of course, the black guy's like, fuck you, man. Get out of here. So the crazy guy then takes the Navy flag off the back of his little thing here and rips it off. You don't deserve this, right? This guy is totally convinced that this man is stolen valor and that it is his job to enforce this. So let's see what happens. All right, here we go. Look at this narcissist. Watch him over the next couple. This is a mentally deranged dude. It's all right, everybody. I'm self-appointed and I'm in charge. I know what you're seeing here is a crazy man with a gun, but I'm a good guy. And that's what he believes in this moment. That's what he believes, that he is special in this moment because he's a meaningless grain of sand. Some of us have difficulty wrapping our minds around that. So that's what he's doing.
Show me your ID. Pull a fucking gun on me.
Here it is again.
Show me your ID. Pull a fucking gun on me. Pull a fucking gun on me. Put it away, sir.
everybody. I apologize for shooting this man right in front of you and your kids on this beautiful Sunday. Welcome to Seattle. Spread the word. We need gun turrets so this doesn't happen. Seriously, you can't make this stuff up. All right. So let's talk about some of the other things about this. Now, there's also video of him in the back of the police car. Yeah, he's like I self-defense. Self-defense. He pulled a gun on me, and I shot him. He did, right? This is where it gets complicated. That guy did reach into his thing. He pulled out a knife. Again, a man in a wheelchair pulled out a knife, and then he pulled out a holstered gun. The gun was still in the holster, and it was, in the court case, it was presented as he didn't pull the gun out and draw on him. He pulled a knife out. He's in a wheelchair. He can't lunge at you. He pulled a knife out, the lawyer said, for his own protection, because this guy was acting really fucking weird and confronting him out of nowhere. Show me your ID, you stolen valor. You weren't in the Navy. That whole thing. So the old man's fucking scared. He's in a wheelchair. So he pulls out his knife, and then he reaches into his bag, and he pulls out a holstered gun, which he holds. It's holstered. This is when that guy pulls his and goes, gang, 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 gang. Now, if you're looking at this situation, and you've just gotten all the context that I delivered to you, and if you're looking at that and you're going, that's a clean kill. That's a hero with a gun. You're not a common sense person. You're not. You're a stupid cultist who have drank whatever fucking liquor the NRA has brainwashed you into. That is a situation that was wholly avoidable because a mentally unstable man who had delusions of grandeur, they made the case that he did this intentionally. They made the case that he left city council looking for a situation that would bolster what he just preached to the city council, that there is gun violence everywhere in this city and that there is mayhem. The belief, and they bought it in court, was that this fucking guy was trying to promote his business by creating this situation that ended in this man being killed. And he went to jail. He's been sentenced. This is not self-defense. This is common sense, where they went, no, you're the fucking troublemaker right here. You're lucky he's not dead. You're lucky he's fine. The man who shot a wheelchair-bound veteran in the chest on Seattle's waterfront last summer has been sentenced to 3.5 years in prison. King County Superior Judge Karen Donahue told the 33-year-old Gregory Tim that the shooting was a completely senseless and wholly avoidable act. It's amazing that nobody else was hurt, or that the scene did not become more chaotic than it was, the judge added. Tim declined to speak at sentencing. His attorney said he may appeal Tim's conviction for second-degree assault and theft. Theft because, remember, he stole the guy's flag. He walked up and just stole it and threw it on the ground. It was like, you ain't a veteran. Show me your ID. How dare he? Even if you are one of these radicalized guys who've never served, but somehow think those that do are sovereign, even if you are one of these guys, you don't confront people about that. You walk by them and you think it in your stupid fucking walnut head and you move on with your day. That's the way a normal person does it. But no, not this guy. This guy just come from the city council, where, we need gun turrets to protect people from crazy people with guns. So he does that. He leaves the city council, and then he starts this. A block from City Hall. He got a block. And he got himself into a gunfight. Video of the incident shows Tim ordering Powell to show his military identification before snatching a Navy patch and flag. Powell then armed himself with a knife and a replica handgun that was holstered, placing the holstered handgun up on his chest, holding it away from Tim. Sorry, I want to read that. Powell then armed himself with a knife and a replica handgun in a holster, placing it near his chest and holding it up and away from Tim. Okay, after the shooting, Tim apologized to bystanders and then surrendered without incident to police, saying, "This dude was crazy," Tim told a responding Seattle police officer. "I don't know if he was going to start firing indiscriminately or not, but that was it. I just shot him once. I didn't dump a magazine into him." Oh, aren't you? Oh, you're a good man. Oh, you're a good man who just fucked with a stranger. The stranger got scared, and then you shot him because he got scared because you were fucking with him. Jesus, man. A pre-sentencing memorandum said that Tim is also, sorry, a pre-sentence, it doesn't matter. Oh, it says here that he was also a veteran. It says Tim is also a veteran, but received an other than honorable discharge. You know what that means? Other than honorable discharge. That means that this guy is, and that he was bumped out for being. Powell has recovered fully from the shooting. That's the man who was shot, though the bullet remains lodged in his chest. After sentencing, he returned to the same waterfront spot where he was shot, telling reporters, "This is my favorite spot. This is my pier. When I die, you can throw my ashes into the water here." The King County Prosecuting Attorney's Office said the sentence imposed Friday is in line with state guidelines. All right, 3 years for a mentally unstable and well-armed macho man who went looking for a gunfight, found one. I don't care what you think. Well, the other guy pulled a gun. Yes, but the other guy pulled a gun because the other guy thought this guy was crazy. You can't have it both ways. Somebody instigated this whole thing that was, as the judge said, wholly unavoidable. All right, we're going to take a quick break here. I'm going to go get myself some coffee. We're going to come back. We're going to bring in Maddie, and we're going to go through the manifestos of these teenage boys who shot up a synagogue or mosque. I'm sorry. Yeah, which is so weird because, you know, they didn't really have a problem with Arabs. They did it's like, why didn't they go to a synagogue? From the man, we're going to get into the manifesto. How weird it is. And if you have teenage boys, or if you know any teenage boys and have the same kind of concerns that I have having a teenage boy, I want to hear your comments in the chat room on this one, because this is I don't know, this is something that I'm interested in. So, all right, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to stop, go to the bathroom, cup of cafe, come back with Maddie. We're going to break down the manifesto. Then we got more stuff we got to talk about too, because we want to get into what Fox News is now doing about the aliens. I broke down the alien situation last week, and now I got Fox News and Jesse Waters out there muddying the water with stupidity. But okay, so we're going to break that down. Fox says there are 4 kinds of known aliens. 4. They say 4. There's only 2, but Fox says 4. So we'll break down and I'll explain to you why the other 2 are just absolute bullshit. So we'll get into that. We're going to talk about the guy, a little cool local story. I want to talk about the guy in Grapevine who drove his Cybertruck. And we got to talk about that. The video, you've probably seen it. It's probably all over North Texas if you're one of my Texas friends. A guy had a Cybertruck and he wanted to put it in wade mode, which is designed for crossing shallow creek beds or maybe flooded suburban streets. He put it in wade mode and then drove it into Lake Grapevine. Didn't work. It didn't. They needed a crane to get the Cybertruck out of Grapevine. Anyway, we'll talk about that and what that guy's doing. That guy seems fun, though. I got to be honest. The guy that did it, he seems fun. We'll break it down. We've got that. And then also, yeah, we're going to do one more. We'll close the show out today with another edition of Can't Beat Fun at the Old Ballpark, but a little different. This is a little different version. This is something that is happening right now in ballparks around the country, just over the last 72 hours. It's becoming a big trend. It happened last night in Seattle. It happened the night before that in Detroit. I think it all began in St. Louis over the weekend. It is the tarps off experience that is happening in Major League Baseball stadiums, and I am all for it. It is, you look, man, I'm a baseball guy. Give me the fun. Give me more stuff that is just, going on peripherally in baseball. Because I'll tell you this, the whole reason that my son doesn't love baseball as much as I do is because it's too slow for his generation. But there is a movement now. There is a fan experience movement that has got a really cool origin. It's a really, and look, we're all going to hate it in 3 years. Or maybe even next year. Like by that time, it's going to be like the wave. Remember how cool the wave was at first? All right, so we'll talk about that. That's how we'll finish out the show. We'll go over the new fan experience in Major League Baseball stadiums. Tarps off. Happening at a stadium near you. All right, quick break. Maddie on the other side of this. I'm going to go to the bathroom, and then I'm going to get something to drink, and we'll come back, okay? More show on the other side. Here we go. Hold on. What do I do? Be right back. There we go. More on the other side. Thanks, guys. Back after this. All right, we're back. Part 2 of today's show in full progress. We're going to get Maddie on the horn here. See if she answers. I'm going to go into something that she put on my table yesterday.
Hello.
There she is. All right. Say hello again. I think I had you too low.
Hello.
All right, there we go. That's good. That's better. All right. So Maddie joins us from time to time. She's very plugged into all of the things that are one area of expertise that she has now suddenly become, how would I say it, drawn into.
Dialed into?
Yes, some of the darker areas of the web, places where I refuse to go to.
Oh,
I don't have time for any of this. So she was in a place on the internet, Zarnia, let's call it. What is it?
Discord.
Or yeah, whatever that is. That's
Well, I got dropped into that room yesterday. That happened while we were on air. It was very bizarre.
All right. Well, let me set it up. All right, hold on. All right. So she got really great. I don't know if it's great. I mean, it's good. If she's a journalist, it's good information. And shared it with me about the shooters. Now, I had been reading all of the published accounts of who these shooters are, and I had a pretty good idea. And after reading the manifesto that Maddie gave me, that I avoided this manifesto for like 20 hours. And then during the White Sox game last night, I just thought, all right, I'm going to read it while I'm watching this. And Maddie, have you read the entire manifesto from both of the mosque shooters?
All 75 pages? God, no. Man, it's dark.
Is it 75 pages?
It's 75 typewritten pages long.
Both of them combined?
Yeah, like that it can't, that's a whole file. And it is, I mean, obviously there's some breaks, like there's the first page is just a blank page, the second page is a logo page or whatever, but and it's in larger type font, in bold print, but it's still significant.
Well, the reason I was shocked by 75 is because I read the entire thing. Yeah, I read both of
absolutely.
Caleb and Kane's.
When you pull up the file and it has a page count on it, it is from start to finish 75 pages.
Okay, so what it is the two shooters. Caleb, was it Caleb Rodriguez or something? Vasquez. Okay, I knew it was
and Kane Clark.
And Kane Clark.
This is Caleb's, yeah.
All right, so both of them write extensively about why they are doing this, who they are, what their inspirations and all that stuff are. They have a hall of fame of spree killers who they look up to, who they call saints.
Oh my God. Yeah.
My point is, obviously, to me, in reading both of these manifestos, there was a leader. There was one person who was far more, and that was Caleb Vasquez.
Yeah, far more disturbed.
Not only far more disturbed, but seemingly, because I read his first, and his was much longer than the second one. And the second one of Caleb's manifesto really seemed to just parrot everything that
Kane's, you mean? Yeah.
Kane. Yeah. Oh yeah, Kane's manifesto was less detailed, less passionate, and seemed to mirror and parrot Caleb's.
Yeah. I mean, and just to kind of dial this in a little bit more, because it's disturbing. It's very disturbing. But I wanted to also kind of explain a little bit about, like I said, like how this came about. So while you were on the stream yesterday, I'm your moderator on Twitch, and this guy, and we were talking about him in the chat. You mentioned him by name. His handle was Clockwork Orange. He initiated the conversation. He came into the Twitch stream, and you were touching on the San Diego shooting in what you were talking about. And his immediate exchange with me was, have you seen the latest shit that's come out? Shit's crazy. I thought he meant like a news report, like an article, and I was like, oh wait, so there's new developments? Because obviously yesterday I had watched, the police chief and the mayor and all the things, and we were we understood what was going on here. We knew it was, they were already labeling a hate crime, right? We knew this. I thought it was.
By the way,
something-
that's pretty clear from the manifesto that this
it's
was
not clear before.
Yeah,
Clear now for sure.
I'm not a
And-
big hate crime guy. I think that, the crime itself, I get attacked. I don't care why the guy attacked me. I care that I've been attacked. But in this case, this is a slam dunk hate
undeniable.
crime. Yeah.
Undeniable.
Make it clear.
Yeah, and so I genuinely thought it was going to be a link to a news article, or like maybe even like a roving reporter, somebody that was Twitch streaming or TikToking or something like that. Then he was like, well, no, I can't share it here, and because I'll get banned on Twitch, because Twitch has a very, very, very robust TOS, right? And so I was like, oh, I'm the moderator. I'm not going to ban you. What do you mean? There's a feature on Twitch where you can whisper to someone, which is essentially a private chat. So I said, well, whisper to me. What are you talking about? So he sends me this link, right? And I'm like, okay, click it. Immediately opens up into a Discord server. And then he directs me to these 3 other links. 2 of the links are videos. 1 of the links is this, right? And so I'm like, what is this? Well, I didn't share the other 2 links with you because I knew that this was something that you could not be comfortable with. I really, in retrospect, wish that I had not watched it, but the 2 videos he sent me, one was of the 2 kids, because again, these 17-year-olds live their lives online. They video everything that they do. And one of them is of the 2 guys going through the mosque with their guns. You can clearly make out that they have assault rifles, that they are kicking open doors, shooting into open rooms, things like that. The other one was after they got finished, and they sat in the car and committed suicide. And when I tell you that image of those things that happened, I can't not see that anymore.
Yeah, I saw the car video. The car video was, I saw a censored version of the car video, but it appears that they started out by firing back at cops before they decided to turn the guns on themselves. All right, so that's how you got it. That's fine. Nobody's going to judge you for it. But I want to get into the actual manifestos themselves. Here's why. I've explained this before. I have a 17-year-old son myself. And it is a very difficult time in America. Now, look, hey, I'm rewatching Game of Thrones. Cersei Lannister just said, evil Queen Cersei, she just said she was having a conversation with somebody, and he said, Pedro Pascal is who she was talking to. And Pedro Pascal said, we don't hurt little girls in Dorne. And Cersei responds with, they hurt little girls everywhere in the world. And I thought, whoa, that can be turned right now on little boys. Teenage boys, specifically teenage white boys, who are being attacked online at a genetic level because of who they are. This is one of the reasons why we have this incel thing, because these marginalized, and in the case of Caleb Vasquez here, neurodivergent. These are kids that are on the spectrum. They are
vulnerable. They're vulnerable.
Right. And they're already feeling awkward. And they're already. Now, I know people like Frank and Barney and Byron think that bullying is bullshit and that people should be bullied. All right. Maybe it toughens some people up. But if you're already fucked up, it just creates a monster. And that's what I think after reading these manifestos. They make no bones about why they're doing this. They're doing this because in the case of Caleb Vasquez, he was bullied his entire life because he's on the spectrum. And this is his revenge against a world that never gave him a chance, no matter how hard he tried. When I tell you that as a father of a 17-year-old boy reading this manifesto, that there were moments when I was almost in tears.
Oh, me too.
Relating with what these monsters were actually saying about why they were doing this.
Yeah, I think it's important to point that out, because in times like this, what we love to do as a society is say terrorist, horrible, bad people, bad parents, bad guys, whatever we like to say. But it is so crystal clear to me that while these guys are certainly the perpetrators of something horrific, they're very much victims too. These kids are vulnerable and they're not fully developed, and there is this evil force that is finding these vulnerable people and bringing them in to these dark, insidious corners of the internet, where they're finding a place in community where these narratives are being pushed and they are adopting.
Yeah, and I want to draw a comparison now between Caleb, who I just told you about, who was motivated by a lifetime of bullying and a lifetime of being, marginalized because he's neurodivergent and an autist, as he described himself. Those were his motivations. And Caleb, to me, seems to be the leader, the one who was really dialed into what this movement is about and why are we doing it and all that kind of stuff. Now I want to talk about Kane. Kane is the wrestler who we focused on yesterday because we had the pictures of him with the cornrows and the wrestling outfit. Kane's whole problem is that he can't get laid. Okay, that's what Kane's issue is, which is why I say that Caleb and Kane have two very different motivators for this whole thing. Kane is just your typical follower incel, and Caleb is the one with the grand view of what this whole thing is. So there is a bit of a difference in motivation. I felt far more empathy for what Caleb was expressing than I did for what Kane was expressing. Kane was just like, chicks, they're the worst. And he went on for like hundreds and hundreds of words about how foids, I don't even know what foids are. What is a foid?
I had to look that up too. So I, like I said, because you asked me to go into the parts of these manifestos that I guess I felt like were really disturbing. And the section in Caleb's that he titles Foids and the Incel Experience, I had to do some research because I'm not familiar with this lingo. And a foid is a femoid, and it is all of this vitriol spewed at women.
Yeah.
Now, they clearly have problems with Jewish people. They have a lot of hatred.
That's, by the way, if we got a pecking order here, that's number one, without a doubt.
Jews are the number one
Jews.
Cause of everything wrong in the world. Okay?
Which is why I don't get why they didn't attack a synagogue, because in reading their list of people they hate, they really had some compassion for Muslims. They don't like Islam as a religion, but the Muslim people they were actually not as angry with as they were Mexicans, Jews, and blacks.
Yeah, you would wonder, because I thought the same thing. I was like, so if they're so anti-Jew, anti-Semitic, which I mean, I think that is a very light way of putting how they speak about Jewish people. It is not just anti-Semitic.
Well, hold on. Well, no, just stop there for a second, because I'm going to read you the very first line. The very first line of the New Crusade by the Sons of Tarrant, which is what they called themselves. Okay, he says. Okay, so here's the first thing that he says. The universal enemy. Now it starts with the way some books do with a foreword, right? Some quotes from movies and philosophers that he appreciates. But
the primary movie that they quote a ton of is American History X.
Right. That is greatest movie of all time. Okay, but here's the first thing he actually writes as himself. The universal enemy. Everyone has their own idea of who is to blame for all the wrong in the world. They'll say it's the government, the elite, the rich, the politicians, the 1%, the left, the right, the capitalists, the communists, the Illuminati, the fags and the trannies, the immigrants, and many, many more. All of them can be traced back to or be caused by one group: Jews. It's the Jews, capitals. It's the Jews, capitals. It's the Jews, capitals. It's the Jews, capitals. And then he goes on for about 100 pages about the Jews. So that is the very first thought he wanted to express. It is the Jews that they have the real problem with, yet they attacked a mosque.
Right. Which, like I said, I don't know. I don't know if they just didn't understand what that specific facility was. I don't know if it was time and opportunity. I'm not really certain. It seems unusual to me because, like I said, clearly Jews are their main enemy here. But shortly thereafter, their next primary enemy are women across the board. It doesn't matter. It's not race. It's just Jews and then women.
Yeah, I didn't leave the women in there, but you are absolutely right. And we talked about this yesterday, and we touched on it. And then when I read the manifesto, I understand why you sort of responded to it when I said, I had a conversation with my son a couple of years ago. He was obsessed with measuring himself. and
Jeez.
he got to 6 foot. And he got to 6 foot, and he was like, "Oh, he's like, am I really 6 foot?" I'm like, "Yeah, dude." I go, "You're 6 foot," and I know because I'm 6 foot. And when he was 15, he was looking me dead in the eye. And so
Yeah.
I'm like, you're gonna be over 6 foot. So when he got over 6 foot, I said to him, I go, "Well, Jesus, what's the big deal?" And he looked at me in dead honesty and said, "Girls won't date anybody under 6 feet."
Mm-hmm.
That's what boys believe today.
And Caleb has an entire paragraph
Yep.
there under that section of Foyt's and the
Yep.
incel experience where he does nothing but talk about where his hatred of women comes from. And that is simply from interacting with them and the understanding that because he is a shorter person, he is nothing in the eyes of women.
Yeah.
That is what he says.
I'm wondering how short he was. I mean, I would like to know how exactly short this Caleb guy was, because it was a huge deal for him. I'm trying to find the place here. It's all over these manifestos, as they often are a bit rambling.
I
But
have the exact. I pulled that paragraph out because that was the one that I said you asked me to bring forth.
do you have it? If you have it, go.
Uh-huh,
Let me hear it.
uh-huh. You want me to start from where he says Foyt's and the incel experience, and
Yeah,
he
start
labels
wherever.
this-
I was going to start with what am I an incel? Question mark.
Yeah,
I suppose
yeah.
so.
So
just
okay, so
go
this
ahead.
is in Caleb's. This is in Caleb's part of the manifesto, and so
And by the way,
has
Caleb is the one we've identified as the leader, or at least I have.
very much more thought out in what he was doing and why.
He is
sure.
he is the neurodivergent short guy who
Yeah.
really has a problem with women too. But Kane's got
Yeah.
a bigger problem with women. But go ahead. This guy lays it out, how they feel
Yeah.
collectively about women.
He says Foyt's and the incel experience, and he labels this entire section as a hate-filled rant. And he says, after the Jew, the most evil creature in the world is the woman. This is because after Jews, women tend to cause all the problems in the world. They do this in the way similar to centrist and just blatant sheep-minded people in the way they are complacent and easy to sway, while still having far more control than they should from the foolishness of men who bend the knee and worship them. To women, men are nothing but accessories, similar to that of a purse or piece of clothing. They all crave a man that is way out of their league, usually in every single way, because of their feeling that they deserve it. They'll want a 6 foot tall man because they want to feel like a small, cute girl. If they still don't feel that way when wearing heels, then in their eyes, the man is nothing. They're always looking for the next better thing, as if their partner, who is a literal human, is just the newest iPhone or trendy item. Height difference, I deserve. Height difference, I deserve. Height difference, I deserve. You deserve nothing. Being short, especially now more than ever, is nothing short but a torturous humiliation ritual. As someone who's been short my whole life, trust me, I know from experience, and they'll never let me forget it. If you're a man and you are below that magic 6 foot height, you'll be treated as a lesser, if they even acknowledge you at all, that is. You'll be made a laughingstock who is treated like as if you were a child or a pet, the way they talk down to you. If you're confident and tall, you're just confident. If you're exact same but short, then you have the short guy ego, one of the many terms they've bestowed upon us to further ridicule us just for our height. If you're short like me, they'll never see you as human, plain and simple. They pretend to be supposed empathetic gender, but they're not. Like everyone else with women, it's all two-faced lies. Foyds don't deserve a man that's 6 foot tall. No, they deserve to be 6 foot under. So go ahead and help them with that.
So let me explain where I think this whole idea came from. The girl, or the belief among young men that they must be 6 foot tall in order to ever get a date. Here's where it comes from. We have acknowledged that, I call them the canary in the coal mine generation. This is the first generation that was given unbridled access to iPads from the time they were 4, because it kept them quiet. And as parents, we appreciated that. We had no idea the damage that we were creating, but here we are. So this is that generation. We can acknowledge that. This is a generation that lives almost entirely in the social realm online. Okay. So where do they get this idea, boys, that you have to be 6 foot tall? Well, they've gotten it from online. They've gotten it from viral videos. They've gotten it from virals of large-breasted, groupie-type girls who look very sexually desirable, talking about how, I ain't gonna date no man that's under 6. And that is the kind of woman in the kind of viral video that gets a reaction. So the algorithm then amplifies that kind of video and that kind of reaction. So all of a sudden now we've got an entire generation that lives online, boys who are seeing all of these representations of what women want that are simply being amplified by a bot because that attitude gets a negative reaction. It is believed among boys my son's age that that is what women think, that a man has to be 6 foot tall. And I'm trying to tell these kids that is not at all the case. Before social media, short guys, little guys, Davy Jones was the most fucking desirable monkey in the whole band. And that guy was like 5'5". Stop it with this bullshit. Women do not, all women, some do, some awful, broken, modern, want to marry an NBA player types maybe. But that is not what real women are all about. And too many of these boys have been exposed to this forever, and they think it's the truth.
And it's the Andrew Tate thing. And so, and as people with fully developed frontal lobes who know a little bit more about the world, we understand that the Andrew Tates of the world are grifters. What they really want is to sell their monthly subscription to their podcast or their
supplements.
Or their supplements, right? Or their I'm going to give you the roadmap to how to fuck hoes, whatever it is. And they don't pull the layers back far enough to see that it's a grift, and they are implanting on you because of the vulnerability. They are very, very good at that, and that is the way that works. And so because these are kids without fully developed frontal lobes who don't have enough knowledge base in the world as we know it, who can't see the grift behind the message, they're buying this story. And then they're also getting this message amplified from people like Nick Fuentes, who is who's saying the same things. He's saying that he's celibate, that women can't be trusted, even though he has had girlfriends or whatever. He is an incel. He lives in his mama's basement. He runs a multi-million-dollar podcast platform, and he is online spewing vitriol about Jewish people and anybody else that he can approach, get an audience from, and leveraging off of really negative propaganda. And this is even, again, more than I would have thought. I certainly thought hate crime. I certainly thought these things. But these guys have dove into a part of the pond that, even if you're even remotely aware of, white supremacy as its existence, these are accelerationists. This Sons of Tarrant that they're talking about, that is in reference to a guy by the name of Brenton Tarrant, who committed multiple hate crimes in New Zealand in 2019, and he killed 51 people at two different mosques.
He's the Christchurch shooter who live streamed it. I watched his live stream as he was doing it. And
they elevated him to a god level.
Yeah, he's a god. Let's go through some of this, because that was what I was going to do next. So before you step on my bit, let me run through some of the people. They've created this entire Game of Thrones, Harry Potter kind of universe, where the stars of this universe are all of the highest profile murderers and spree killers. They've anointed them as saints in the movement, and certain events have been categorized by these two lunatics as being almost religious and of biblical importance, like Columbine. They think that was, an event that, is worthy of biblical. Anyway, Brenton Tarrant, heroes and inspirations. Here's what they say about Brenton Tarrant. They are named the Sons of Tarrant. Obviously, both of our biggest inspirations. Saint Tarrant revolutionized and brought forth a new age of white terror, bringing us many saints. We're proud and honored to be the next in the now long chain of his disciples, and we hope to make him proud and honor his legacy. To me, as I see it, he's the greatest saint of them all and has done the most, combining his creation of the live stream attack, his high score, how iconic his gear was, and weapons with the writing on them, his amazing manifesto, him propelling eco-fascism and accelerationism into the mainstream, how memeable his event was, and with everything else, there's no doubt or competition to this when you lay out all the facts. He truly was the best. Hail Brenton Harrison Tarrant, our hero, a true revolutionary. All right, got another one for you. Peyton Gendron, Saint Peyton Gendron. Saint Peyton, do you know what he did, Maddie, off the top of your head?
No. I looked up a lot of this stuff.
Yeah. Oh, no. Well, you'll remember what he did, because here, I'll tell you about what Saint Peyton did. My personal favorite saint, he says, and second only to Tarrant as far as the biggest catalyst towards my radicalization. I don't need to read his words for Peyton Gendron. Peyton Gendron is the guy who walked into the Buffalo supermarket in the black neighborhood and killed a whole bunch of old people. That's who that guy is. William Luther Pierce is another one of their heroes. Actually, you know what? Now that I think about it, I don't want to read these names because a lot of these guys aren't very well known, and why the fuck would I want to amplify them? Adolf Hitler is bringing up the rear. Hitler, not even a major player. Hitler. And you know why? Wait, you know why Hitler's
manifesto? He completely just debunks, of course.
Right.
Big deal.
Hitler's not a major player because the Holocaust never happened. So
those were just labor camps, and the Jews were taken very good care of, according to these guys.
Yeah. All right. What else do you have here? It was very frightening. These were two completely marginalized kids. One of them, in the case of Kane Clark, he seemed to come from a very well-to-do family. He had all of the benefits of a beautiful Southern California suburban lifestyle, and he was not neurodivergent, or at least he didn't cop to being so. He was the wrestler. He was a really good wrestler. You would think that he wouldn't be susceptible to this kind of thing. Then we look at Caleb, who I think is the leader, and I'm like, oh yeah, his parents should have been really looking at him, because. And that's my problem, Maddie, as a parent. I don't understand how these two kids can be so passionately involved in this entire world building that they did. They world built with these patron saints of mass shootings. How could a parent not know this was going on?
And that's a great question, because I thought to myself, like I said, my mom is a retired educator, right? And she taught English. How, as a parent, do you not know that your two sons are writing 30-page essays on how to murder people, right? You can barely get a kid to write a four-paragraph report in school, right? These guys clearly worked on this for a long time. I think I read something online somewhere where they had been planning this for over 2 years. They dedicated 2 years of their young life to carefully thinking about how they felt about this, writing this down, obviously making a plan of some sort to carry out what they did the other day. And the mother did say, well, my son left for school today and he was wearing camo and now I see that there's some guns missing. But let's be really real here. The guns that these kids used were inscribed with Nazi symbolism, with acceleration symbolism. Their camo outfits had patches and pins and stuff on them. So did you see your son leave with a regular pair of camo pants? Or did you see your son leave in full tactical gear, ripped from top to bottom in Nazi memorabilia? That's crazy to me. And
first of all, it's crazy to me that a kid would have that stuff and a parent wouldn't know.
Right? And
Mom doesn't go into his closet and hang up his clothes and see the fucking full tactical gear hanging in there and wonder, what the hell are you doing? You take that away from him. All right, if my kid wants tactical gear, he can't fucking have it because he's a kid. Anyway, I'm getting excited.
Well, and there's a big part of me that feels really concerned for parents, right? Because it would seem extremely overwhelming. I do not have children. I'm grateful especially in these moments that I don't, because I can completely see where you're working, you're trying to hold your life together, especially right now when the economy sucks and things are happening and you feel like things are coming at you from all angles and you're just trying to hold the pieces together, where you could maybe miss some things, right? And it certainly seems like that these Discord rooms are these, like I said, these dark little corners of the internet where, unless you, I guess, are a parent that is hyper vigilant and is constantly aware of how this kind of information is getting to your kids, you could miss some things. And I'm sympathetic to that. I'm sympathetic to the idea that you play a balancing act with your especially your teens who want independence, but yet you have to be involved in what they're doing. You have to know what they're reading. You have to know what they're watching. You have to know these things. And teenage kids don't want that kind of engagement from their parents. But this goes beyond that.
Yeah, okay, let me cut you off here now, because I want to say something about this. I am the parent, and I just cannot wrap my head around parents who are so detached from just everyday conversations that give us really important clues as to what our kids are up to. For instance, I can't pretend that I'm with my kid all the time. I'm not. But I do, from time to time, we'll watch the news together. And if we're sitting around watching the news and there's a story on and he makes a look, the way you feel about news or the revelation of, like, if I'll give you an example. If I'm sitting around the table with my kid, you're telling none of these parents ever sat around the table with their kid and there was a news story on where a black guy did something and the kid didn't go, well, that's typical. That's typical of them. There are little clues that your kids give off about how they feel. And if you are not aware of those clues and don't follow up, you're going to have one of these situations where you're like, I had no idea. My God, it's not that hard.
You would certainly wonder. Like I said, his mother is a woman. Did he ever say anything that would express his complete, utter hate for women towards his mom? And if so,
exactly.
did the mom, right? Like that's
how does
crazy.
His dad not know that this is how he feels about women? I mean,
Well,
I know exactly how my son
no
feels
dad.
about women. He's scared to death of them, but he doesn't hate them.
Right. And maybe there is no dad, and that's okay. We also know that our culture largely, children are being raised by their female parent, right? Okay, I get it. But I just don't feel like, with the level of vitriol, the amount of information here in this manifesto, that they could have, with a 17-year-old mindset, bottled this up so convincingly that something didn't express itself. Like, for example, a couple of months ago, I was home visiting my mom. And I've said before that my mom's a retired educator. Right now, what she does is she works for a driving academy. We've talked about that because kids with the driving thing. And so all of their people, for the most part, that are coming in to learn how to drive are 17-year-olds. They're getting their license. Well, there was a student in her class that carved into the desk a Nazi swastika. Okay. They called the parent immediately and said, look, this can't happen here. Not only did he deface our property, but this is alarming, right? They, brought the kid in with the mom sat through the meeting, the whole 9 yards. She was like, well, I obviously will take care of this right away, blah, 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 blah. And they said, look, if you don't get this taken care of, then he can't come back to school, or you come back into the classroom. They came back in, they figured out how to get back to the classroom. The very day that he came back in, he excused himself to go to the bathroom in the class, went into the bathroom and took something like a marker or something and drew another swastika on the mirror in the bathroom. He insisted.
Those are the people that were nice to him. Nobody's nice to this kid except for the local Nazis. And now he's friends with them. And this is what he does.
And this is in an affluent white neighborhood. This is in Mandeville, Louisiana, where this is the average price of home is $500,000 up. This is not in rural, this is the white people who don't live in trailer parks. No. These are people who can afford to put their kid in a
Yeah.
private driving academy. Okay. This is an affluent neighborhood. The schools are good school systems. The parents are usually typically very dialed into their kids. Okay. And his explanation was, well, you don't understand the Nazis, the swastika doesn't mean what you think it means. He tried to say it meant, the old Hindu symbol. And so, it kind of got pushed under the rug. The mom kind of said, well, I don't know why he does that. I'll have to ask him about that. I called my mom after I got this manifesto and had a long conversation with her. And she immediately reminded me of that. And I was like, I thought about that too. She was like, that really scares me. And I said, yeah. So now what? Do you call the mom and say, you really need to look more closely at your kid, ma'am?
Yeah. All right, let's wrap this up. Obviously, we're all doomed because our kids are rotten, and this generation may be the last one. Canaries in the coal mine. Civilized society is over with. All right, Maddie, thank you so much. We'll talk again in a couple of days.
Yeah, once we erase the memory of this horrible
Right.
manifesto. Like I said, I didn't read it nearly as closely until you asked me to, but it is disturbing, and we all need to really be aware.
All right.
I don't know what else to say. Aware. Everybody, head on a swivel.
All right, thank you, Maddie. There's Maddie. Maddie appears multiple times every week. She's always I like to have somebody to talk to for certain stories, and I always enjoy talking to Maddie. One thing, Adam's been very active in the chat room. I have been deliberately ignoring what Adam was saying. I mean, I've read some of it, and it's because the first thing that I read that Adam is incapable of staying on subject. Adam's like, it ain't just white kids, it's brown kids, because white kids have been entitled out. Shut the fuck up, dude. We are specifically talking about this case and why these white kids feel this way. Yes, of course. Every other group has their thing, man. But that's not what we're talking about, okay? And we're not wrong for specifically talking about the way white teenagers are processing shit. And part of the reason they feel so fucking marginalized is because of people like Adam, who immediately goes, they've had everything forever. Fuck them. They didn't do anything wrong. They're just kids, man. God damn it. Stay on point. I'll tell you what, if there is a situation where we have to talk about, what's going on with the Latino teens, please. But right now, the conversation in America seems to be about these white teenagers, these white kids who suddenly are the first generation since I don't know when to actually think it's cool to be a Nazi. It was never cool. We had skinheads when I was a kid, but they weren't fucking cool. Talk about marginalized. They were the absolute dirtbags of society. And now suddenly there are kids who are, it's on the rise. Nick Fuentes is going to be 100 millionaire any day now. Mexican Nick. This is what I don't understand. By the way, Caleb Vasquez, one of the mosque shooters whose manifestos we were just going through, he goes into detail. He says he's got really weird math, and it suggested to me that he has spent his entire life being a self-loathing Latino, that somehow the environment, and maybe this plays into what Adam was saying, but somehow he has decided that he is not Latino, that he is a white man, and he is going to prove that he is a white man by fighting harder for white causes than anyone else. And he is clearly, Caleb Vasquez, not a white man. Not a white man by almost anybody's standards. He's 50% Mexican, and then like he said, I'm 50% Spanish. And then he had like it was the math didn't add up. So anyways, his argument was because he's Spanish that he is white European. He is probably more than 51%. He's like 51% Spanish and 49% Mexican. So he's a white European. No, you're not. No, you're not. I'm sorry. The Spanish are not really considered the same thing as the Swedes and the Germans and the Irish and the English. And I'm sorry, the French. We even start looking at the Italians sideways. So Spain. But isn't that weird? Like, and I wonder, that's a conversation I could have with Adam. I wonder if that has something to do with some problem within the Latino community where, there is no pride among some of these people, and that they do want to not be associated with that. I don't know. That's interesting, because we've seen this multiple times. The guy whose name I refuse to memorize, who ran the Proud Boys, Mexican. Nick Fuentes is Mexican. This shooter, Caleb Vasquez, is half Mexican and half Spanish, but he's a white guy. He's fighting for white power. At some point, don't we look and see how stupid this all is? How about just good dudes and assholes? How about that? Can we just live in a world where what we're really looking for are good dudes and assholes? That's where I want to be. All right, let's see. What else are we going to get into here? We got more fun stuff, I promise you. That was a little bit, a little ranty. You allowed me to sort of spread my wings and get with Maddie. And all right, what else do we got? Do we want to do the aliens? Yeah, all right. Why not? I'm feeling a little bit jacked up. I'll rant a little bit about the alien situation. So y'all know I'm an alien enthusiast. All right, y'all know. So I don't do this. Isn't an alien show. I'm not one of these weird guys that's just always about the aliens. But if we are talking about whether or not we believe that there are other things out there, yeah, sign me up. Absolutely. To my way of thinking, in an ever-expanding universe that has been ever-expanding since the beginning of time, literally, the very idea that we are we don't even know. Do you know what that is out there? Can your everyday normal guy mind imagine what infinity of space looks like? No. So the idea that we're the just us, we're just us. It's us. Yeah. I mean, not even like, okay, so what if maybe there's like an amoeba on another planet somewhere, and it's about to sprout legs and crawl out of the ooze or whatever, All right, so why, we don't have to just immediately think that there's no life because, we've got to be the most advanced. What if we are the most advanced? What if there's probably life out there somewhere. The thing that really gets people twisted up is there life out there that's visiting us? Because if there is life out there that is visiting us, then we are no longer top of the food chain, because we can't go out there and visit them. We can't even get off the launch pad 10 out of 10 times, right? Without a delay of 6 weeks. So if they've been visiting us let's go back to Roswell. I don't imagine Roswell was their first mission in the 40s, right? 1940s. I don't think it was like, hey, let's try this. It was like Armstrong on the moon, and what, they fucking crashed? So I'm a believer. I believe that there are things that we don't know. There are things that we don't know, and you need to be smart enough to know that there are a whole lot of things that we don't know. So this idea, the world that I grew up in, where anybody, a pilot who says, yeah, I saw strange lights, I'm going to file it as a UFO. Oh, in a world that I grew up in where that guy no longer gets to be a pilot because only crazy people think that way, it is nice to be now in the dawn of a new era where reasonable people are having reasonable common sense conversations about the multitude of glaring evidence that we have. Evidence that we are now learning through many channels. We've learned, if you are a UFO enthusiast as I am, then these are not necessarily new pieces of information, but as far as them breaking through into the mainstream, definitely new. So we are in this era now of disclosure, that they call it. We had a thing a couple of weeks ago. It kind of lead balloon. It was a lead balloon. And most of us real UFO people were like, okay, this is a distraction. This isn't real. They're not going to give us anything new. And sure enough, nothing new. There was nothing that hadn't already been discussed at length for years and years in UFO communities and stuff like that. So whatever. It was another dupe. It was another, hey, look over here. Stop asking about Epstein. So it didn't go anywhere. And Trump over the weekend, my theory again, I don't know, Trump over the weekend was like, hey, how come people didn't get all twisted up with the UFO thing? Why didn't that work? Right? Trump was that over the weekend. So he truthed out a picture of him, just no explanation, just him walking on a tarmac with an alien 2 weeks after the dud of Disclosure Day. Because he's like, let me see if I can get this back ramped up. And it did. It worked. It worked. Because for the last 3 days, we've now been talking about aliens again. And now you've got people going, oh, there's a second wave coming. There is a second wave of disclosure. It's all a game, man. It's all a game. And I don't know what we can do about it, but let's start with being angry about it, okay? Let's start with acknowledging that this shit's got to stop. So anyways, Fox News is doing their part, and Fox News has offered a contradiction to something that I told you about last week. Fox News is now saying there are 4 aliens. Because some old kook who's been discredited said that there are 4 kinds of aliens. There's 2 kinds of aliens. We went over this last week. There are Nordics and there are Greys, okay? Greys are the ones like E.T., basically. The big eyes, they're gray. They look like the aliens that we always see. Most of the time in movies that deal with the UFO question in a serious manner. By that, I mean movies like Close Encounters, Contact, Signs, whatever. Those aliens, those Hollywood aliens, are almost always depicted in some form of gray. That's what we see in Hollywood movies. But there's also Nordics. Nordics is another, again, haven't seen it myself, but enough credible people who I've believed other things and other things that have, proven out to be, wow, that was true. Those kinds of people have pretty much established for at least 20 years of this game that there are 2. There are Nordics, and then there are the Greys. The Nordics look just like us. The Nordics, supposedly, again, this is all supposedly, the Nordics are like 7 feet tall, though. They look like, they look like centers on a basketball team. The Nordics are tall. They are absolutely humanoid, and they look very similar to us. However, because they do seem to be the same form of carbon-based thing, the Nordics have to wear uniforms. The Nordics wear spacesuits. I don't know if I do not know, honestly, if the Nordics breathe air. I don't know. That's a good question. I should look into that. Do the Nordics breathe oxygen? Now, the Nordics to me are always the more interesting one, because the Nordics are the species of supposed aliens who seem to have developed in a very similar way to us, except they're a little taller. And that might be just simply because of, the gravity on their planet or whatever. Who knows? They're from another planet. That's why they added 6 inches on average. I don't know. But they wear suits. And the suits that they wear have been described as almost reptilian. So the fun part of UFO talk, where people start getting silly about it, and they're like, they're reptiles in skin suits, right? That's where that all comes from. Because the Nordics, who are human looking, they wear reptile suits. Now, that means that the reptilian form, okay, the reptilian form of alien that is now being offered up is not, in fact, an alien. It is just the Nordic in his spacesuit that resembles something that we would call a reptile or something. Okay, so there's that. So let's watch Fox News. This is, is this the Jeff C. Waters thing? I'm not entirely sure which one I pulled from, because it was, there were a bunch of them. So I'll give you, that bastion of credibility, Jesse Waters, guy whose entire career is based on, I can gin people up better than you. So this is why we serious UAP and UFO enthusiasts roll our eyes with, this round of, hey, let's gin people up with UFO talk, because none of us find this shit credible. We're all like, nope. It's like when you have a friend group and you have a really good idea about what to do tonight. Like, everybody's like, hey, it's Friday night. Where you want to go? And you have somewhere you really want to go. And you're like, let's go X. And then somebody's like, yeah, let's go there. And you're like, oh shit, I didn't want him to agree with me. Maybe this isn't the best, but that guy sucks. Anyway, that's kind of what it's like for us UFO people when Jesse Waters starts coming to our side. We're like, we don't want you on our side, man. We want credible people. Where's Marco Rubio? Mark, get him in front of the cameras talking about UFOs again, not Jesse Waters. Anyway, here we go.
It's the UFO files a few weeks back, and we just found out over 1 billion people have visited the site. 1 billion. It's got to be a record. The War Department says more files will be released soon. UFO experts and top researchers have been investigating aliens for years. Their sources say dozens of crashed UFOs have been recovered, and what they found inside, shocking.
And do people think that there's one type of non-human intelligence that's visiting the Earth, or is there many, many types?
People who have been involved in recoveries have said
there are at least four separate types. Now, I have not had direct.
This guy's a con man. This guy is not someone that I have ever. He says a lot of really wild shit that ends him up on TV, and I'm like, oh, this guy's just trying to sell books.
Access to that for
Many, many types.
people who have been involved in recovery.
By the way, you know why they add the 4 instead of 2? Because the 2 are kind of boring. The grays are just like little, like little grays. They're not scary. They don't gin you up. And the Nordics look just like us. The Nordics look like people we'd want to sleep with. They're all very like attractive. And so they had to create 2 more. They had to create 2 more groups to scare people. And these are the reptilians and the insectoids. That's right. It's not just cute little ET and a guy who looks just like your neighbor down the block. No, they had to add 2 more to gin people up. They look like reptiles and insects. It's bullshit.
Have said
there are at least four separate types. Now, I have not had direct access to that, but I believe the people who I talk to.
4 different types of life.
4 different types of life.
4 different species of aliens. Another scientist called them Greys, Nordics, Insectoids, and Reptilians.
Okay, so notice how he starts Greys and Nordics, because those are the 2 accepted ones. The other 2 are bullshit. They're added on to scare people. Greys, that's not scary, right? Nordics, that's not scary. Nordics, that sounds actually quite nice. Swedish bikini team and whatnot, right? No. Now you got to go the reptilians and the insectoids. See what they're doing? I mean, it is so fucking clear.
All of them have 2 arms and 2 legs, just like us. Experts speculate the reptilians are scaly with long tails, like a lizard. Insectoids look like a praying mantis. The Greys look like your classic movie alien, and the Nordics look like a regular Swedish guy. But 7.
See why they added the 2? Because they needed one that looked like an insect. That was a giant scary mantis, and they needed one that looked like a reptile because they need to keep people scared. E.T. and a guy from Sweden doesn't scare people.
Feet tall. We haven't seen the evidence. Look like a praying mantis. The Greys look like your classic movie alien, and the Nordics look like a regular Swedish guy, but 7 feet tall. We haven't seen the evidence, but Pete Hegseth says more evidence is coming, and there are a lot of believers in Congress.
I have seen evidence in.
All right, see, this is another problem. Don't show me this lunatic. Literally, her name is Luna. Every bullshit thing that crazy people believe in, this bitch has been at the forefront of. So please don't trot her out. My God.
And there are a lot of believers.
You know what this is like? Do you remember back in the 90s when remember back in the 90s when they would have like the KKK on the Jerry Springer show, and it was never like a guy in a suit. Like we came to learn that the actual people who were, behind the Aryan Brotherhood and all this were very passable, normal individuals, guys with clean-cut haircuts and suits, and maybe they were their church deacon, and they were also the leader of the largest white pride group in America, right? That's the reality. But in the 90s, when they would trot them out there on Jerry Springer or whatever, it was always like the toothless goober in the Klan outfit going, I just don't like the ends. There's that guy. Why? Because that's scarier. Because that's scarier than the dude. When in reality, the dude that's the church deacon should be what's scary, but that's not how TV did. Anyway, I often thought back then, if I was a white supremacist, I would be very offended that these are the people they've chosen to represent me. I can say the same thing with weed. I used to feel that way too. Well, like Donahue in 1990, we're going to talk about marijuana. We've got some of America's biggest marijuana advocates. And then it would be like some dude who just got off tour with the Dead with long hair going, hey, man. Like that was always the spokesperson for the marijuana movement. It's like, are you fucking kidding me? I got high with a judge last night. And this is the guy? Yeah, man. So that's what they're doing here. They're ruining the UFOs by rolling out people like Jesse Waters and this Luna chick.
In Congress.
I have seen evidence in a skiff that leads me to believe there are things we cannot explain.
No, you haven't. There is no way on earth that anything that is super secret and important to world unity that you're being allowed to see. That is not true.
And I have observed things that are of non-human origin and creation. That's
Of course, this is the woman willing to go on record as a seated congresswoman saying that she's met fucking aliens. No, she hasn't.
That's my opinion. That are of non-human origin and creation. That's my opinion.
Releasing the files isn't easy.
Been in fucking Congress 2 years, but she's being let into things.
They've been hitting for years, and a lot of people want to keep it that way.
The problem we have right now is the deep state's fighting the president on release, and he kept his word, and I suspect...
See, that's how President dodges the bullet. We all went, hey, none of this shit is new, Mr. President. That's why it was a dud. So the president went, yeah, deep state. Yep, I can't. They're not that deep state. Oh, so you're a cuck. That's what it is. You're a cuck to the deep state.
Some of our not so friendly... The problem we have right now is the deep state's fighting the president on release, and he kept his word, and I suspect some of our not so friendly comrades and some of our...
Look at this clean-cut son of a bitch in his nice suit staring into the camera. About to tell you to go to church on Sunday. Just fucking lying. Just carrying water. Just covering up operation manipulation of the American. Just covering up. President did what he promised. He released it all, and then out of nowhere, the dark, deep, scary state came in and said, no, fuck you. Tired of this. Tired of this. And you should be too.
On release, and he kept his word, and I suspect some of our not so friendly comrades and some of our alphabet agencies are slow walking a lot of information. It's about power, it's about control, and that's kind of what runs Washington.
So why is our own government fighting so hard to keep these secret? Well, it doesn't.
Well, I don't know, Jesse, but I'm pretty sure I ain't getting the fucking answers from you, dude. All right. Here, let me show you a picture here, though. This is, but they released pictures of what the 4 types of aliens actually look like. So let's look at the 2 ones that are real. I say that very tongue-in-cheeky, but at least among people who are serious about this issue and don't get distracted by, like, you know, crazy stories from people who don't have credibility. For those of us, we all pretty much, you know, we're on the same side, that there are 2. There are Greys and there are Nordics, and that these 2 other scary ones that have recently been added into the conversation are not real. But okay. And as I say again, the reptilians are really just the outfits that the Nordics wear. So, you know, what are you doing? All right, here we go. Here's a picture of them. This is what they're saying. Can I make it bigger? Yeah. All right. That's what she said. All right. Look at this. I don't know if you can dial in here. On the left, you have the insectoid. The insectoid, right? Look at him. Scary. Looks like a bug. Could you imagine having to fight like what is he? He's a 7-foot menace. So when we tell you that they're invading, and then we say, and it's the insect ones, you'll know to be appropriately scared. It is believed, again, that the the reptilian, that's what it is. It's believed here that the reptilian uniform is really just the spacesuit that this guy wears. This is the Nordic. Look at him. Holy shit. Holy shit. Am I crazy, or do I now believe that the band Nelson were actually aliens? Look at them. What songs did Nelson sing? What song? Remember Nelson? Remember Nelson, the 2 twins who were the sons of, like, Ricky Nelson? What songs did they have? I'm pretty sure that I'm about to pull up a Nelson song and we're all going to go, oh my God, that's actually not toxic to my ears. That's not bad. Nelson, let's see, what are their songs? All right, here we go. They got a greatest hits. All right, let's listen to this for a second. We won't listen to it fully on the air, but you can listen to it through my phone because I don't want the show to get knocked off. All right, here we go. Nope, that ain't it. I already remember this Nelson song. All right, that's it. All right, the aliens. See, they were warning us. Here she comes. All right, so here's the Nordic. Look at the bulge. They made that somebody, this is all, somebody created this. And they intentionally said, make them have a big dick because we need to scare people. There's 7-foot handsome Nordics coming to take your women. They got huge dicks. So when you see that UFO, be sure and fire on it because your pistol is definitely going to be the thing. Spaceship firing a shotgun at a UFO. That thing has traveled across time. And you think you're going to take it down with buckshot? All right, so here's the reptilian. Get rid of the reptilian and the insectoid. Notice how the two that have been added are the scary ones. Look at this guy. This guy, the gray, okay? Got to be honest with you. From some of you may know my story. I believe I've had an encounter with the grays. I think it's the grays. Now, that also might be, and we've talked about this in both therapy and hypnotic therapy, we also kind of think that maybe my memory now, in the way that I'm drawing it, and I'm picturing a gray when I tell the story of what happened to me when I was a little kid, when I'm describing the gray, a lot of people think that there's no real credibility to what I'm describing because as a child, I was exposed to all kinds of imagery, and my memory seems to match up with Hollywood. So when I say I met E.T., right, I'm thinking of like the gray. And look at this guy. This is the most credible of all of the supposed aliens. All of the credible recovery or whatever, they all seem to stem around this guy. You can't have it be around this guy. Look at this guy's 5 foot tall. This guy can't even get a date in America. He's not 6. He's 5 foot tall. This guy scares nobody. I mean, at first, like here's what it is at first. At first, you're shocked, right? You're taking out the garbage. You saw a light in the sky earlier, and you're taking out the garbage late at night, and you look down the alley, and you see this guy. You see the gray guy. You're scared at first because what the fuck? Burn victim. Somebody call an ambulance. We got a burn victim in the alley, right? That's what you think. But after about 40 seconds, if he's not aggressive and seems kind of friendly, you're like, oh, look at him. He's so cute. Oh, he's so cute. After about 10 minutes, you would invite this guy into your house. You would not invite the giant 7-foot reptile or mantis, right? The Swede guy might have already been in your house. You just didn't know. You just didn't know you had an alien in your house. But this guy, see what I mean? So anyway, this is not good enough for the current movement of scaring people about what's out there. This scares nobody. So Fox News needs to create these two bullshit. There's no such thing as reptilians or insectoids. I am telling you, it's grays and Nordics. All right, there you go. So apparently we're getting more UFO stuff coming. More. I don't know what that's, whatever that's about. All right, let's do this one now. This happened the other day, Monday. We've got video of it. Big story in North Texas. I am not a Grapevine Lake guy. I'm a Lake Louisville guy, but this happened out at Grapevine Lake. And I don't know, do you guys chat room help me out here? Because being there in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, excuse me, you may have heard more about this, and so maybe you have more details. I don't have all that many details. What I know is that a guy took his Cybertruck and he put it in Wade mode, which is a mode designed for Cybertrucks that lifts the actual vehicle up, airtight seals the electrical compartments, and it then allows you to roll through about 2.5 feet of water. Right? That's what it's designed for. You've got a Cybertruck and you're off-roading. I don't know who the fuck's off-roading a Cybertruck, all right? But they are. You're off-roading, you got to cross a stream, right? A shallow stream. That's what Wade mode's designed for. Your suburban neighborhood has poor sewage, and now it's raining, and now you got floods in the intersection. That's what Wade mode is designed for, to carry you across water no deeper than 2.5 feet. This guy in Grapevine, or at Lake Grapevine, don't know where he's from, this guy decided that he wanted to see if wade mode meant it becomes a boat. Well, it didn't. Here we go. We got some video of it. I know a guy's got a great name. It's like Jimmy Jack. It's like Jimmy Jack something. And he looks awesome. I got to be honest. The guy who did this looks awesome. He looks like he's about 70 years old, made a shit ton of money. You know, he just woke up and went to his buddy, hey, I wonder if we could turn this into a boat. And they decided to ride their Cybertruck into Lake Grapevine. All right, here it is. This is the video. This is, I guess, what came up. This is a Twitter, right? Do we have a news story? I think we also have a news story. All right, so here he is. He's in wade mode. This is Lake Grapevine, one of the boat ramps there. And look at him. All right, so far so good, but he's still on the boat ramp. As somebody who has great familiarity with the lakes of North Texas, he's still on the boat ramp. He ain't going to be on the boat ramp in a second. And now he's being carried. Oh, he's sliding on. And now he's in the water. Okay. All right. This is edited a little strangely, but yeah, essentially what happened was he was trying to roll on the boat ramp. And I don't know if a wave took him or if half the car slid off the boat ramp and then it began to dip into the lake water. But here we are. At this point, they're taking on water. They almost immediately began taking on water. And, he said that the entire dash or whatever went haywire, and they decided to abandon ship and call the authorities. They're trying to get out. I think this is, is this Jimmy Jack or whatever? I don't know. He seems like a cool, fun old bird who doesn't give a shit. He's in jail. He's probably out now, but he was in jail for like 24 hours for this. Honestly, I just think this adds to the legend of old Jimmy Jack. There he is. That son of a bitch. All right, his car's that thing. That is. By the way, Tesla has chimed in. This is not under warranty. They want to make it absolutely clear that the Cybertruck is not designed for this. That's Jimmy Jack. Jimmy Jack's out there, and should we watch the fight? Yeah, let's watch Fox 4. I'm always up for watching local Dallas news, especially now that I don't live there. Do we have the story? Well, I guess not. I guess we'll just read it. All right, here we go. Here's the details. A man has been arrested after driving his Tesla Cybertruck into Grapevine Lake to test, quote, wade mode. Quite frankly, I think we got this wrong. I think a lot of people are leaning on the fact that he put it in wade mode and then tried to turn it into a boat. I think most people are acting like he thought it would become a boat. I don't think that's the case. I think he knew that wade mode wasn't something that turned it into a boat. He just wanted to see what would happen. Because he's fucking Jimmy Jack, man. Jimmy Jack does this shit. Do you know how much money Jimmy Jack made when the mortgage industry collapsed? He bet the opposite. Jimmy Jack hasn't worked in 15 years. And he's honestly kind of sick of his Tesla truck. So he wanted to see what would happen. I'm telling you, that's what's going on with this dude. We should all be Jimmy Jack. A man has been arrested Monday evening after intentionally driving a Tesla Cybertruck into Lake Grapevine. The electric truck quickly became disabled and began taking on water, forcing the driver and his passenger to abandon the vehicle before first responders could pull it from the shoreline. The driver, this is from yesterday, and I can't imagine this is still true, but it says the driver remains held in the Grapevine jail on multiple charges, including operating a vehicle in a closed section. It's a fine. It's not a thing. So he's been charged with operating a vehicle in a closed section of a park and having no valid boat registration. It's not a boat. It's not a boat, man. These are some nonsense charges. They were mad at him. What they ought to do, I mean, certainly he needs to pay for whatever expense it was to get that thing pulled out of there. Because, you know, city services, they ain't free, man. And, you know, this guy ought to be fined or something. And I imagine that that's probably how this is going to shake out. But he's been in jail, according to this story, for at least 2 days. He intentionally said that he drove his Tesla Cybertruck into Grapevine Lake to test its wade mode feature. It says here, all right, what we know. Officers were dispatched to Katie's Woods boat ramp at Grapevine Lake just before 8 p.m. Central Time Monday evening. When officers arrived, they found the Cybertruck in the water near the shoreline. The driver told officers that he drove into the lake on purpose to try out the vehicle's wade mode. The driver and his passenger safely exited the vehicle before the Grapevine Fire Department's water rescue team removed it from the lake. Yeah, I bet that's even more expensive. I bet the water rescue team is different than, you know, they got to come in the car accident on the street or something. I bet there's a premium for the water rescue team is my point. Here, let me show you this guy to you. This guy seems awesome. I bet this guy's awesome. I bet he's fun. I bet he hangs out in bars. I bet he hits on women that are way too young for him. And nobody bothers. Yeah, he's Jimmy Jack. Look at him. Look at him. Look at that guy. Jimmy Jack McDaniel. Woo! He's got his collar popped. I wish he was smiling. I think that would be better for the legend of Jimmy Jack. I mean, this is a man here that looks like he's thinking he made a mistake. And I don't want to believe that about Jimmy Jack. I really don't. Okay, while we look at Jimmy Jack, let's hold on. Sorry. Okay, wait. Took me a second here. All right. Where are we in the story? He's still in jail. All right, we got Jimmy Jack. There we go. All right, he's still in jail. We know that. Sorry. It says what they're saying. He remains in Grapevine jail. We want to remind drivers that although a vehicle may be physically capable of entering shallow freshwater areas, doing so can create legal and safety concerns under Texas law, Chief of Police in Grapevine said. It remains unclear exactly what McDaniel hoped to accomplish by driving into the deep water. Man, if Kelly and I still had a show, let me tell you, you want to know, you wouldn't hear much of Sybil on the air today because Sybil would be working on tracking down Jimmy Jack McDaniel because I would love to talk to this guy. What were you thinking? Because this isn't a real crime. This is a boomer who, played the system game and won, and now he's old and bored. Anyway, free Jimmy Jack. That's what I say. Free Jimmy Jack. It's his Tesla. He didn't do anything wrong. He didn't do anything wrong. His Tesla drove it into a lake. There were no other boats there. It wasn't like he drove through a beach. There wasn't a beach party going on. It was just like, I wonder what would happen here. And, we're all laughing at him. All right, let's see. What else do we have here? I was going to talk about, I don't need to talk about it all that much, but Weiland, the artist, was on CNN this morning. And I used to live right over. I used to live in downtown. So I used to live over by the Weiland painting. Weiland is a sea life artist who is globally recognized as one of the most important artists of this era. He goes around to cities and creates gigantic murals that promote sea life. That's his whole thing. Dolphins, blue whales, orcas, whatever, it's what he does. And his work has been celebrated in some of the most sophisticated places in the world. Dallas is not that. Dallas is like, what? Oh, you mean that's important? So Dallas back in 99 got something that only major cities got. And it's a big feather in the cap of those of us who believe that Dallas is every bit as important and big a city as any other city in the country. Dallas is one of the top ones, top 5 media market. And he got a Weiland. He got a Weiland down there by the aquarium in downtown Dallas. All right, I was going to say gorgeous, but quite frankly, I looked at it a bunch of times and went, that kind of doesn't fit. That really does stand out. But maybe that's the point of art, for it to stand out. But I have looked at it and gone, Anyway, it doesn't matter. It was a great feather in the cap of Dallas that they had one of these public pieces of art that was so globally regarded, right? But the World Cup is coming to town, and they need that wall for advertising. So the Weiland went away. Wayland. I remember it now. Here's the thing. These public murals that he does, the city is behind these. The cities, or in some cases, people who outright own the buildings and then pay him this because the property value of the building skyrockets immediately, right? It's like in London with the Banksies, you're going out of business, Banksy tags your wall, all of a sudden you're back in business because you've got a really hot property. So that's kind of how a lot of places looked at the Weiland. Other places don't. Again, and this is what I realized, because I'm like, well, Dallas destroyed their Weiland. Is this like the first time this has happened? And it's not. But what is different in the case of Dallas than, say, and I'll draw the comparison to Chicago, because Chicago also had a Weiland. Chicago lost ours. Chicago's, partially lost ours. We got ours in like early 90s, I think, mid 90s maybe. So when Chicago got ours, I remember it was a big deal. I was on the radio there. We were there for the unveiling and all that. We covered it live on the radio. It was cool. It was this really cool piece of art. Not for everybody, not for us, the working class, but, for the sophisticated people. People would come and visit and get their pictures taken in front of the big wall. So in the case of Chicago, it was a 10-year lease, and he knew that going in, that they said that you'll be able to have this for 10 years because 10 years coincided with the people who own the building. And the people were like, or people who leased the building or whatever, they're like, well, we can't go further than 10 years because we may not. So we're going to pay you to do this, but going in that we may have to remove this if a new owner comes in and takes over the building. And that's fine. And there are a lot of situations where that's the deal with Weiland. Now, the one in Chicago was eventually torn down, although not completely, because they decided to just build a new building. But they did leave a portion of it as a reminder that, yes, this is a great piece of art and all that. And if you want to see the Weiland, it's now just a little dolphin tail that's the size of a garage door, but whatever. Dallas didn't do that even. Dallas is just like, nah, we're going to put up a Noxzema billboard or a Bud Light billboard welcoming FIFA participants. So, I'm a little bit irritated by that. It's short-sighted. Again, it is kicking to the curb culture and sophistication that are important for people in the outside world when they think of your city, for nothing more than a couple of bucks. Just a couple of bucks. So Weiland was on CNN today, and he's very upset about it. He's like, I was told that this was a city building and it would be there forever. And so he's very upset about the Dallas situation. But there are other ones, like his first giant mural in Santa Monica is now one of the most photographed things that people who go to the Santa Monica Pier and all that stuff get themselves. He's got a beautiful one all over the world. He's got these cities all over the world: Berlin, London, Paris, all of these. Dallas before, not anymore. So anyway, I don't know how you feel about it. I don't really have a great anger or anything, but it is just kind of, look at that. Of course, get rid of the one, cool thing that some people think really proves that Dallas is a player in the culture world. Let's get rid of it for a Bud Light ad that we're going to paint for the World Cup. All right, there you have it. Feel about that any way you want. Maybe you're just like, That's kind of how I am, kind of like, But I'm also kind of like, fucking typical. That's typical. That is absolutely. All right, guys, we're going to wrap up today's show because the White Sox game started 2 minutes ago. That's right. They're playing on the West Coast today. 3:00 game. So I'm going to do the rest of my show stuff today, and I've got some things I'm going to do with the White Sox game on in the background. But before we do that, we're going to I'm going to show you a new angle to an ongoing series I've been closing the show out with called Can't Beat Fun at the Old Ballpark. That's right. I'm a baseball enthusiast once again, and I'm into it more than maybe I ever was. Why? Because my rekindled fascination with my White Sox this season, after 2 years of absolute ignoring them, I ignored them for 2 years. I moved back to Dallas, and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to watch. This was 4 years ago, or was this 3 years ago? Whatever it was. I moved back to Dallas, and I'm watching the Rangers, and they're doing all this shit in free agency and all that. And I'm like, I'm going to be a Ranger fan, and they won the World Series. They won the World Series that year. and they were good for like another year, and then the bottom fell out. And in my mind, I was keeping an eye on the White Sox, and I remember the record-breaking season where they lost more games than any team in the history of Major League Baseball before. Luckily, I can't name 3 players on that. I don't even remember that. I don't know who that was because I refused. I saw what was happening, and I refused to participate in it, and I was living in Dallas, so why not try and embrace the Rangers? I had done that once before. I had partial season tickets about 15 years ago. I love the Rangers, but they don't have my heart. So I came back this year when I moved back, and I decided that they don't look like they're going to be good this year either, and we're still in the middle of a rebuild, and half of our team is in the minor leagues, and maybe by after the All-Star break, we'll have like 3 or 4 of our people in the minors up here. And so that was my thinking. I'm like, all right, I'll just watch this team and see if, they're good. They're really good. So now I'm like crazy about baseball, and they're really good. And all of that talent in the minor leagues still hasn't come up. It's like the scrubs that are placeholders are batting 300. And anyway, so I'm really Johnny Baseball. And that explains why the last thing we've been doing is Can't Beat Fun at the Old Ballpark, where I focused on some behavior that we see in major league ballparks. Yes. Was it Little League kids yesterday? I think yesterday it was a way parents behave at Little League games. Today, Can't Beat Fun at the Old Ballpark will focus on a new thing that's happening in Major League Baseball. And when I say new, we're like 3 or 4 days into it. It'll happen again tonight. I don't know where. I don't care. I'm going to I'm going to want to see it. It's called Tarps Off. And why do I think it's so cool? Why do I love seeing this over the last 3 days of watching Major League Baseball? Because baseball needs to be made fun again. Because baseball needs to be made fun again for 17-year-old boys, okay? That is what I have noticed over the last 25 years of me watching baseball, that the next generation isn't really embracing it because it's too slow. Because it's not, NFL, football, basketball, all that stuff that they love. It's really fast. Baseball isn't really fast. Baseball is nuanced. Baseball is about spending an afternoon with somebody that you enjoy and watching something slowly unfold. Now, there are moments of great excitement in baseball, but for the most part, let's be honest, 85% of a baseball game is, where's the beer guy? Right when you're there. Baseball has had a lot of problems, and they've been doing some things over the course of the last few seasons that I believe are working to make the game more fun. Speeding up the games with pitch clocks, ghost runners, all of these things. It doesn't matter. Anything new that is introduced to baseball will be widely despised until it's in play for about 6 months, and everybody goes, you know what? This is better. This is better. But baseball purists are some of the people that I hate more than almost any other subset of sports fan in the world. The baseball purist who still wants the dead ball era. Okay, baseball purist, how do you feel about black guys in the league, Mr. Purist? Anyway, fun. There needs to be a reason to come to a ballpark other than just sitting there for 9 innings watching a 1-0 game, which is, sadly something that occasionally happens. So we're seeing this. Here's how it started. On Saturday, or Sunday, I think it was Sunday. On Sunday in St. Louis, a group of college students from Stephen F. Austin University were in St. Louis for, I don't even know what they were. There's probably more of, is there? Yeah, okay, so here it is. I'll give it to you. There is an explanation. I don't need to just free ball this like we're doing drunk history. Okay, so, where is it? I think it's Stephen F. Austin. Were they baseball players? Yes. Okay. On Friday, May 26th, this is the origin of this, and it is wildfire, and it's fun. And if you're like, God, that's not baseball. Why are they doing? Shut the fuck up. Okay. It's fun. 300 kids, 300 teen boys went to a baseball game tonight to do this. So anyway, the spark was, on Friday night, members of the Stephen F. Austin baseball team were visiting St. Louis and sitting in right field bleachers at Busch Stadium. During a tense extra inning game, they all spontaneously ripped off their shirts and started waving them over their heads. The Cardinals ended up winning the game on a dramatic walk-off hit. Cardinals manager Oliver Marmol loved the energy so much that he publicly praised the group, bought out hundreds of stadium tickets to give away to any fan that was willing to sit in that section shirtless. And he even invited the original club baseball team to come back into the locker room for one-on-one meetings. All right, I'm going to show it to you. So it was a really cool moment. It was the St. Louis Cardinals, who, if you're following baseball, they were, early on not looking so great, but they are hard charging right now in their division. It's a 3-team fight in that division between the Cardinals, the Cubs, and the Brewers. And the Cardinals are definitely putting the heat on both the Cubs and the Brewers. So this game, very tense. Let me play this for you. This is Ollie Marmol. He is the skipper manager. He is the manager of the Cardinals. This is him talking about what the tarps off kids meant to his team when they were grinding it out in the bottom of the ninth. This is great. And this is how baseball needs to embrace these things. This is a manager of a baseball. A whole bunch of fans did something crazy. A whole bunch of fans did something that maybe in another time people would go, they need to stop doing that. That somebody calls security. Like, that's the way baseball used to be. No fun. But here we are in 2026, and the manager of the Cardinals is going, no, that's so great. I'm now going to buy tickets for that section, and anybody that wants to sit in there has to do that. Here he is. This is how the whole tarps off movement, Major League Baseball games, got started. You're going to see on top, you are going to see manager Ollie Marmol talking about the situation, and on the bottom, you're going to see the situation. You're going to see the kids doing tarps off and then the Cardinals walking off a win. Coincidence? Probably, but cool nonetheless. And baseball is filled with magic.
Started that in right field. I'll do whatever I need to do to make sure they come every game, because that was awesome. Not only them, but everybody that showed up today. That was a fun environment. Go ahead.
You guys could feel that from the...
Are you kidding me? Yeah, you can feel it, man.
He's like, so you guys could feel that in the dugout? And the manager's like, are you kidding me? Of course we could feel that.
It's awesome. Not only them, but everybody that showed up today. That was a fun environment. Go ahead.
You guys could feel that from the...
Are you kidding me? Yeah, you can feel it, man. It's awesome, and it creates an environment where it's not only filling this place up, it's making it a tough place for other teams to come in and play. That's what makes a difference, and that was pretty damn cool. So yeah, I'll sign up for that every day.
All right, there you have it. The manager, that's how it all started. That was on, what was that? Friday night. That's right, Friday night, I said. All right, so then it moved. I think this was maybe Sunday or maybe Monday. Let's go to Tiger Stadium in Detroit, because we had another incident. Not the same team. This is a different group of people who all decided to get together, 300 or so of them, and go to a baseball game in the middle of a week just to do this. And that's what's so great about this. Fun at the old ballpark. Here's Tiger Stadium for Monday night.
The tarps off section is growing in a big way. Pause is up there. It's going to be a little tough for Pause to join up in the shirtless festivities.
Pause has got the biggest towel.
Can I just say, as a White Sox fan, how much it breaks my heart to hear Jason Benetti doing local Tiger games? This is the great Jason Benetti on this call.
Festivities.
Plaza's got the biggest towel. Yeah, that's fun. I like good energy.
Tarps off. Whoa, let's see. What else? Another example. Okay, here you go. So last night, I'm sitting here watching this game. It's the whole reason that we're doing this. Here it was yesterday in Seattle. A bunch of Seattle fans went tarps off during the White Sox Seattle game, and it was pretty cool. Let's see where it happens next. All right, here we go. I lost it. There we go. Okay.
Row here in Seattle. Over there right now. It just started to pop up here in this 6th inning, and the entire section just continues to grow here in Seattle. As long as you're having fun.
So here's what's happening. The original group was Stephen F. Austin baseball players. They were all together. They were all in one big group, and they all did it. But what's happening now around baseball is that individual dudes who ain't going to games together, they meet up in a section of the stadium that is empty, because a lot of these baseball stadiums have empty upper decks, and they all are coming together. People who don't know each other all are coming together because hashtag tarps off, meet in the right field 300 section in the 6th inning, and let's do this. And that's fun. Can't beat fun at the old ballpark. Look, you see people streaming in, people coming from all over. You might be sitting on the 3rd baseline and you're like, no, I'm going to go do tarps off in the 6th. We're going up to the 300 level. That's fun.
There right now. It just started to pop up here in the 6th inning, and the entire section just continues to grow here in Seattle. As long as you're having fun.
Look, my one real big takeaway. Where is tarps off going to happen today? I don't know. It will happen somewhere. Somewhere there's going to be someone, whoever's home, I bet you there's going to be multiple tarps off today, because we've seen it from St. Louis to Detroit all the way out to Seattle last night. So, and it's fun. And I got to tell you, I as somebody who has spent the better part of the last 17 years trying to convince a Gen Z boy that baseball is something he should be into, seeing all of those Gen Z boys going to a baseball game to participate in this, it's awesome. Whoa, wrong one. Sorry. It's awesome. All right. Can't beat fun at the old ball yard. What is Adam saying? Adam says, I made a shirt with Rochen Odor punching Bautista in the style of an MLB logo, and it says, make baseball fun again. It's currently my pajama top since it's 3 times. Okay, because he lost a lot of weight. Very cool. Very cool. What is this? Hold on. We got some information on Jimmy Jack. Barney says Jimmy Jack owns 20 automated car washes on the Highway 75 corridor. Don't know if that's true, but it tracks. That is, I'd be like, yeah, he's probably like one of those guys. He's like, so see, we think about a guy who's super rich, right? We're like, oh, super rich guys, he owns Amazon or he owns Tesla. No, man, there's a whole bunch of other kinds of super rich guys. A dude who, like as Barney describes, a dude who owns 20 automated car washes is also a rich guy. He's not a billionaire. He's way richer than we are. Guys, that's going to do it for today's show. I do appreciate you. I got other things I got to do here. Why am I lying? I'm going to put the White Sox game on, and I'm going to try and get health insurance. That's what I'm doing. Well, not get health insurance, but redo my health insurance. What else do I got to do? There's something else important I got to do today. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter other than I love and appreciate that you allowed me to spend these hours today regaling you with my special brand of topical narcissism. Oh, did you hear that? That was weird. What is that? Why does my voice suck? Why am I in a career where, the most important thing are the dulcet tones you're able to, and my voice sounds like Marge Simpson, homie. Yeah. Yes. I do a world-class Marge Simpson, and I've never done my world-class Marge Simpson publicly. You know why? Because I'm embarrassed, because I don't really have to do it. It's like, it's not even a voice. It's just me. I sound like Marge Simpson. Pugs Moran, I've never heard you talk about the Savannah Bananas. What's your opinion of that exhibition league? Well, let me tell you. I have no problem with the Savannah Bananas. In fact, thank you for walking me into this. The Chicago White Sox, unknown, never heard of this guy before, center fielder who is hitting the cover off the ball and making highlight level plays defensively in center field for our team. Tristan Peters is a former center fielder for the Savannah Bananas. Right? That's why when I tell you I'm excited about this White Sox team, because it's this kind of nonsense that seems to be working out. We've got a starting 5 pitching staff of guys that have been DFA'd by half the league, and they're like lights out this year for us for some reason. We got a Savannah Banana in center field, and he's good. Here's the thing. We've got like the number 15th ranked major league prospect in all of baseball. He's a center fielder. His name is Braden Montgomery. He should have made the team out of spring training, but for some reason he didn't. So he's down there in AAA, leading the league in home runs and just crushing. And we can't bring him up because we've got a Savannah Banana in center field who's crushing home runs and playing center field like Willie Mays. Well, did Willie Mays play center? Was Willie a center fielder or a right fielder? I know Hank Aaron was a right fielder. Anyway. Yeah. All right. So Savannah Bananas. What is my thought on Savannah Bananas? Here's all right. My thoughts on Savannah Bananas. It's not baseball. That's not baseball. That is fun. That is baseball adjacent fun. But it's not. It's like, what's your thought on the Harlem Globetrotters? It's fun. That's just fun. It's in the theme of basketball, but that's not basketball. I think it's really cool what the Savannah Bananas have been able to do, where they do these special shows at football stadiums and they draw 100,000 people in Alabama to watch an exhibition baseball game. That is so cool. And that is good for baseball. And I'll tell you what else is good for baseball, that Tristan Peters, a former Savannah Banana, is playing like an all-star in real baseball. So that's my thought on Savanka Banancas. What do we got here? Aaliyah Marvines, I don't know who you are, but I want to say welcome. Bring a friend. Aaliyah. Is that it? My eyes are bad. Aaliyah. That's a pretty name. Unfortunately, my headphones broke today because of my naughty cat. So I can't hear your voice. It would be great if you could respond through chat instead. I don't know what that's about. Okay. How do I chat? Hi. What does it say? Hi. Oh, yeah. All right, there we go. That's the best I can do for you, girl. Get your headphones fixed. I would like that for you. All right, guys, I'm out of here. You're the best. We'll be back tomorrow noon, right? Hot topics, current events, just waxing poetic about the world. We are forced to survive. Oops, something went wrong. Try reloading the page. Good thing we're done. Love you guys. See you tomorrow at noon. I'm Pugs, Kelly Moore Memorial Studio, RadioMisfits.com. Don't forget, tomorrow drops episode 3 of Who Killed Live 105.3, the story of what really happened to one of America's most successful and unique radio stations, and why did it go away when there was no financial reason? Radio Misfits, your exclusive home for episodes of Who Killed Live 105.3. New eps drop every Thursday. All right, we'll see you tomorrow, guys. Bye.